time. Don't max out your cards. It's better to have a high credit limit with a low balance. Never close old accounts. The age of these can actually help your credit score. But don't be afraid to use your credit. You need several accounts in order to have a credit score. Just keep the corresponding payments within your means. For your mortgage pre-approval and refi needs, start by visiting VanDykemortgage.com.
Corporate NMLS 3035. Van Dyke Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Charlie Sundstrom, NMLS 134251.
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateur, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
You're 6 minutes away from a live episode of Free Talk Live, brought to you by freekeen.com. Listen live at freetalklive.com.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, July 28th, 2016. Silver is trading at $20.44 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,345 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $659. Antiwar.com reports with officials continuing to assure the world that coup plotters had infiltrated anything and everything in Turkey. The post-coup purge seems able to target any given industry at any moment. One day the government is rounding up disloyal generals, and the next it's firing the dean of every university in the country. On Wednesday, it was the media's turn. Officials are reporting that over 100 media outlets have been closed over ties to exiled cleric Fethullah Gulen, including 45 daily newspapers and 16 television stations. Incredibly, among the newspapers ordered closed was Zaman, which was nationalized for Gulen ties way back in March. Turkish officials seem insistent that the old Zaman's influence extended to a coup that happened 4 months after they were closed, with arrest warrants issued for 47 former employees. That they closed the new Zaman, which they already run and which had been slavishly loyal to Erdogan, is just bizarre and reflects growing paranoia about any perceived dissent. The Erdogan government has long been ruthless in cracking down on critical media, at any rate arresting reporters as terrorists for unflattering stories, particularly those critical of the government offensives against the ethnic Kurdish minority. That crackdown never really stopped, but the coup has justified an even further acceleration. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports prosecutors in Baltimore on Wednesday dropped all charges related to the arrest and death of Freddie Gray for 3 police officers. The move by Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby will conclude the high-profile case, meaning there will be no convictions or criminal accountability related to Gray's death. Charges, including involuntary manslaughter, were dropped against Officer Garrett Miller, Sergeant Alicia White, and Officer William Porter. Gray sustained a fatal spinal injury on April 12, 2015, while being driven in a police van after he was arrested. His death sparked weeks of protest, riots, and looting in Baltimore and ignited the Black Lives Matter movement nationwide. Prosecutors previously said officers did not do enough to get Gray medical attention after he was injured while handcuffed but not buckled into a seat in the back of the van. Porter's trial ended in a mistrial in December. Officer Edward Nero and Caesar Goodson Jr. were acquitted in separate trials in May and June. Baltimore police officer Lieutenant Brian Rice, the highest-ranking officer to respond to the incident that led to Gray's death, Watts was found not guilty of involuntary manslaughter, misconduct in office, and reckless endangerment on July 18th. Mosby told the Baltimore Sun on Wednesday, "I wanted to be able to expose the systemic issues, and I think that's one of the reasons why we said we would probably drop the remaining cases so we can try to work towards a solution," adding, "At the end of the day, this was just a process. The officers received due process, the verdict was rendered, and at the end of the day, I believe justice was served." When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports a Wisconsin appeals court ruled on Wednesday that 2 teenagers should be tried as adults on charges that they attempted to kill a classmate by stabbing her repeatedly to please a fictional internet character named Slenderman. The girls, Anissa Wire and Morgan Geyser, have been in custody since they were charged with attempted first-degree homicide in the May 2014 attack in Waukesha, Wisconsin, a suburb of Milwaukee. All 3 girls were 12 years old at the time of the stabbing. In a pair of rulings, the 2nd District Court of Appeals determined that the Waukesha County Circuit Court probably exercised its discretion given the facts presented and made a decision a reasonable judge could make. The girls can appeal to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
A new teen trend of walking wet and nude couldn't have caught on at a worse time, and a taxpayer is outraged. And lo, the Lord said unto the Israelites, "Look unto the heavens, and you shall see a news review program to rival the greatest wonders of the earth." This is the Onion Week in Review. As a front of dense, frigid air and snow showers brought sub-zero temperatures to much of the country this week, Canton, Ohio residents noted that the blanketing of snow they had received created the illusion that their town was not a total shithole. Residents added that unlike its typical depressing reality, the snow-cloaked town actually looked halfway livable.
Canton is usually a miserable little dump, but you know when that first snow fell and covered everything in a layer of white powder? For about 5 minutes it was like not everything I saw depressed the living out of me.
Reports from locals also confirmed that for a brief period, the streets, parks, and buildings around them gave the surprising impression of not being a run-down, heartbreaking excuse for a hometown.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. In studio tonight is Darryl, Chris, and Conan. And we began going over a list last night of 20 reasons not to vote.
That's a lot of reasons.
We will continue with that list. Instead of going back over the first 5, we will pick up at number 6. But let me basically summarize. The first 5 are basically variants of if you vote, then it's your fault that everything that happens, even if you vote for the losing candidates or vote against the pay taxing or the tax increase or vote against whatever it is, you're taking a ballot and putting a mark on said ballot is the reason that things happen.
Ah, purity. We must be pure.
Well, and the funny thing is, most of the people that make these arguments, and this was pointed out last night, most of the people that make these arguments of you should not vote because voting, endorses the system and voting is the reason that they do all these horrible things that they do, will wind up paying taxes. So it's really the people that are funding it that cause it to continue existing, not somebody that takes a piece of paper and marks on there, I don't want you to do this. Number 6 on the list says participation in the system, i.e. voting, reinforces the idea that people can't live together without violent control.
There are people, and I meet them all the time, who believe that. They believe that if you don't have a heavy taskmaster at the end of the whip, people will just go out and hurt each other.
Oh, there'll be anarchy.
Yeah.
We need rule and order. People can't be trusted to take care of their own lives and act like civilized human beings.
Right. So by my taking a ballot and voting against tax increases, somehow that's supposedly sending a message that I think that violence is needed by saying stop stealing money from people.
You, by the act of voting, I guess the argument would go, you are acquiescing to the idea that there should be voting in the first place. Therefore, that is part of the democratic system in a constitutional federal republic. Therefore, you substantiate and give your blessing to every bad thing that they could ever do.
Which, by the way, was the gist of these 20, because I read this earlier today, and I was like, hey, this would be a great list to talk on the show tonight. And then I started reading them, like, they all say
the same thing.
Voting legitimizes the system.
Right. Number
it
7.
It makes the system right.
Number 7, participation in the system, i.e. voting, implies that the majority knows what's best for everyone. And this can actually be debunked by simple math of, one, it's not a majority of people in most elections that actually show up to vote. And then you're talking about a plurality of a plurality, which is not anywhere near a majority. But I guess that sort of strengthens their claim of why you shouldn't vote, because then it's the minority controlling things and reasons.
Well, I just want to take a step back and say I think everybody in this country has a right to either take part in the voting process to whatever degree they want to, and I think that everybody has the same right to ignore the whole thing and not. I don't look down on people that don't vote or that do vote. You know what I mean? It's just a choice that you want to make, and it's your statement of how you feel, and that's fine to me. I could care less.
What bothers me is that people who are voting actually believe that their vote matters, and that it's actually meaningful at the end of the day when it's all been really decided, and their one person vote is it's meaning. And
that's a separate issue.
And when you consider that there are so many lessers of two evils out there, and it's like there are no goodies out there. They're all corrupt criminals.
Almost at every level anymore, it just seems like all we do is vote for the lesser of two evils.
And then fight each other over which criminal is going to be the best of the masters.
But if you really wanted to divide a country up, this is the perfect way to do it. You know,
and keep them busy.
You only allow two sides to be voted on. There's only yes, no. There's this guy or that guy. And they each represent good if they're on your side, or they represent evil if they're on the opposite side.
As far as
the
entertainment value is concerned, keeping us actively busy with the circuses, this is good fun.
But it's also, you're right, it is that feeling that you are taking part in your country, in your democracy, in your republic. You are letting your feelings be shown. And I'm not down on the concept of voting, because there's lots of things we vote for. It's not just about elections. The three of us might decide to order a pizza tonight.
Or go to the movies or whatever.
Right. And there may be one vote for anchovies and 2 against. But it's still an act of sharing your feelings about a particular subject.
But if I decided that I did not want anchovies on my pizza because we weren't going to split it, we're just going to put it, we're going to deck the whole thing out.
Right.
I could say, you know what? Hey, you guys just go ahead.
Right. And then you'd never have to pay taxes again because you didn't. Oh, wait, I'm getting these two mixed up, aren't I?
Then I had to go move out to the woods off the grid.
And you can't interact with another human being because somebody would have walked on a sidewalk or driven on a road, which even if they didn't actually buy the gas at the gas station, they would have gotten from somebody that somehow either paid a tax on it or used something that was provided for with a tax, such as that flat surface that no private company could ever figure out how to make.
If I ever used any of those things, then I could never say that I built that.
Yes, you could never say. I guess where I get to is it's sort of this, are you a statist? Are you a minarchist? Are you an anarchist? And while I truly believe in my heart that we could do without government that I do believe it's an evil system that's been perpetuated for eons. And we do have examples throughout history where people led great lives without rulers. I don't believe that we will go from a statist oligarchy, which we're in right now, and then the next day we will have a peaceful society without rulers. I think you got to take steps.
Right, and you have to change people's minds. There's the statement about, change hearts and minds.
Sure.
It sounds very cliche, but unless people are prepared for less government or no government,
right,
then it's not going to be pretty if, like the state government went away tomorrow, the federal government went away tomorrow.
Right.
And you know what? I don't know, because this is our utopia. This is what we believe in. This is what would make our lives better. But I meet so many dumb people out there who and when I say dumb, I mean that's mean. People who just are not capable of making decisions on their own. They are afraid to make decisions on their own because they're afraid of falling. They're afraid of the consequences, and they want someone to decide for them. There are just too many of those people out there. It's a human thing.
That's why there's so many people that have, the W-2 jobs to where they go, they punch a clock, and they do some menial task, and at the end of the day, they punch the clock again, and at the end of the week, they wind up getting a paycheck because it's easy. They don't have to, but you're also...
But I do everything else, too.
You're also semi-self-employed.
But that's not the only thing people who get a W-2 do. There are a lot of people that do very complex jobs, and they find them personally rewarding. It's not necessarily because they have no drive or ambition or are afraid of themselves.
It's because they want to spend their time doing their job and not task managing other employees.
But I've known people that have had a regular day job because they were scared to try to make their own business.
It is scary, and I don't disagree with that. But there's also people that look at their personal situation. They're like, okay, I got a wife, I've got kids. I've got, I got bills to pay, and the risk reward isn't there for me to strike out on my own because I'm I'm a systems analyst or a programmer for a large company, and I get a very comfortable benefits package, so on and so on.
Your calls and thoughts, welcome, 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Injury Help Desk is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisements. Services may not be available in all states.
Attention prescription antibiotic drug users. Have you or a loved one suffered an aortic dissection, aortic aneurysm, or abdominal aortic aneurysm after taking the prescription antibiotic drugs Levaquin or Avelox? These popular antibiotic drugs have been prescribed more than 80 million times since 2004, and medical studies show an increased risk of the following injuries: aortic dissection, aortic aneurysm, and abdominal aortic aneurysm. If you or a loved one used the prescription antibiotic drugs Levaquin or Avelox and suffered from aortic dissection, aortic aneurysm, or abdominal aortic aneurysm, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. You may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-823-3851. 800-823-3851. 800-823-3851.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. You may already know about the Free Talk Live audio-on-demand phone line at 641-793-9660. Did you know that not only can you listen to Free Talk Live via your phone, you can also leave a message and have it delivered to Free Talk Live's hosts? To leave us your thoughts, just dial 641-793-9660. That's 641-793-9660. Press 2 for Free Talk Live, and then hit 0 to leave your message.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Thursday, gold is $6 lower at $1,342 per ounce. Silver is 3 cents lower at $20.38 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $655 US. Roberts & Roberts has been helping customers to buy and sell gold and silver for nearly 40 years. For more information, give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We're talking about reasons not to vote, according to the people over at The Art of Not Being Governed. And, well, let's continue with this list. They say that participation in the system, i.e. voting, implies that the majority knows what's best for the individual. The last reason, number 7, that they gave was that the participation implies that the majority knows what's best for everyone, and now they're just changed that to say the individual, which is pretty much covered by everyone, is it not?
And is it ever really the majority that make these decisions for us?
No, and
it's a minority of...
It's a plurality of a plurality. It's a plurality of a plurality that show up on election day.
But then everyone says it was the majority democracy that made this decision, so we all have to abide by these decisions.
But Darryl's exactly right. That the fact is if you got 40% voter turnout and the guy wins by 51%, then you've got something around
21% or 20% of the population made this decision that we all have to abide by.
I remember when I lived in San Antonio, there was a mayoral election, and the mayor got reelected with 81% of the vote with 7% voter turnout.
But he had a mandate from the people.
That's what the newspapers reported.
Of course they did. It's a mandate.
Yeah, when 5% of the people express an opinion, I'm sorry, but that's not a mandate. Number 9 on the list, voting is effectively participating in mob rule, and the mob then enforces its view on the rest of society with the threat of violence.
Your mob's pretty small.
Once again, it's a very small mob.
Plurality of the plurality.
Number 10, they say by voting, an individual literally advocates the use of force against peaceful people.
Yeah, kind of.
But, hold on. But can you not, and this seems to argue that you can't vote in self-defense.
So have you read the entire 20? I take it there is no voting in self-defense or running for office in self-defense, which is what I'm doing right now.
They're saying that you can't, by even looking at a ballot on election day, that you're endorsing everything that happens. And I've actually had people tell me that by me casting a ballot for none of the above, that it is my fault that Barack Obama has droned children in the Middle East. I've been told that if I did not cast a ballot for none of the above, that none of it would happen because I'm the one that endorsed the system. It is all Darryl's fault.
Well, that ballot...
Kind of a math problem there.
That ballot wasn't free, Darryl. Someone had to pay for it. We, the people, paid for that ballot, and so, yes, you drone bombed a kid for real.
Yeah, by saying that I don't want anybody to be the president of the United States. It's my fault.
On a ballot that cost money that I had to pay for.
Number 10, or that was number 10. Should we talk about the whole concept of
I think we have
self-defense?
I think that's a worthy conversation to have. This list just seems to be sort of the same thing over and over. It's like when I have this argument in real life, like the other guy's like throwing these things at me. I'm like,
he's like, but no, let me rephrase it this other way.
You're kind of saying the same thing.
Number 11 is slightly different. They say voting reinforces the idea that the people have the power rather than the unaccountable bureaucrats who actually make the rules. But the way I'm reading this is...
It sounds kind of pro-voting.
That's not necessarily an argument against voting. That's an argument against the current system where unaccountable bureaucrats make the rules.
Right. You're making a good argument, but not the one you were intending to make.
Number 12, they say voting is futile because the better financed candidate wins.
See, now there's been studies on that, and it's
the incumbents win. And usually the incumbents get the money.
Well, yeah, but there's been a few studies, and dang it, if I would have looked at this list, I might have been able to reference one, which showed just the opposite, that the guy who spends the most money has a lower chance of winning.
Yeah, didn't Bush spend like the most money, Jeb, in the last Republican thing?
Absolutely, and this was looking, I think it was looking at presidential candidates over the years, but yeah, you go back decades and you'll see that the guy who came in with all the money was often the one who did not win.
Right, but see, they're probably not talking about the primaries. They're probably only talking about the general elections because, as Mark pointed out last night when we started going on over this list, most of the people that make these arguments only care about the presidential election year and they forget about everything else.
The one that least matters.
Right.
And it really does.
Number 13, they say statistically, any one vote makes no more difference than a single grain of sand on a beach. Thinking that their vote counts tends to give the voter a mistakenly inflated sense of self-worth, and participation in a system creates a passive sense of accomplishment.
And they get to change their Facebook icon to I voted flag.
And on the one hand, I agree with this, that people do wind up having this inflated sense of self-worth, and they do think that somehow they accomplished something, but there are results where one vote has made a difference. Ivanka Trump just won an election with 2 write-in votes.
For what position?
She received the Reform Party's nomination for Congress in the 12th Congressional District in New York. She did not file to be a write-in candidate, but someone else did. New York state law says that if anyone files papers as a write-in candidate, all write-ins are then valid. The person that filed the write-in paper got 1 vote. Ivanka Trump got 2. So she won an election by 1 vote.
Interesting.
There have also been elections where nobody has shown up to vote, and no, the local government didn't go away. They wound up finding ways within their laws to perpetuate themselves. Oh, it was a tie election, and we've got procedures for breaking a tie.
Back to the pizza analogy. So anyways, we're all going to eat pizza after the show, and so we all vote.
No, I'm on Banana Island.
And none of us can vote on a pizza. All right, so let me ask you something. Does that pizza still get bought? Does the pizza show up 20 minutes after we didn't vote for the pizza?
Vote.
And who would pay for it then? So yeah, that's
Darryl.
Ian. It's Ian's house.
Now we're just taking recommendations. I say Darryl.
But no. If that would be a good life to live. If the pizza just bought itself.
Number
I like
14,
this system.
an individual's ability to make an informed choice is zero if the only information they reference is from the overtly biased mainstream media, government-run news channels, i.e. propaganda, politicians and party manifestos, i.e. sales pitches, or from an enforced state school education, i.e. indoctrination. So let's talk about, can you make an informed choice, and is that a reason to vote or not to vote? And your thoughts are welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
Worried about lead, fluoride, and other contaminants in your drinking water? Get a ProPure with the Pro 1G 2.0 cleanable reusable filter and remove up to 200 contaminants. Drink water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure products, including the new ProMax shower filter. There's a ProPure for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Teens radio show. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgoristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agorist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers, and some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agorist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any tomfoolery. So go with AgoristHosting.com. And if you want to get your foot in the door with decentralized marketplaces, Agorist Hosting is now offering Open Bazaar hosting. Go to agoristhosting.com, click on the button that says Get Hosted. Agorist Hosting, that's AGORIST, hosting.com.
If you want to move to the Free State and you're looking for some real estate.
Oof, I think we've all had enough of that jingle, don't you? If you're going to invest in property in New Hampshire, it just makes sense to support a liberty-friendly realtor. Call Mark Warden of Team Porcupine Real Estate for investment property or rentals in the Free State, or visit his website. Come on, you know it.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com. Is spreading the message of liberty and peace around the globe worth 15 cents per day to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. Last year, we did a fundraiser that successfully covered the costs of continuing our African channel. This year, we're hoping to raise enough to fund a new satellite signal that will cover Europe, North Africa, and much of the Middle East. You can donate as much or as little as you like via the Indiegogo campaign at fund.lrn.fm. And there are perks available like sitting in on your favorite LRN.FM show, exclusive shiny badges, or even naming a satellite channel. Please contribute now at fund.lrn.fm and help us continue our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. The fundraiser ends August 19th, so please visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. That's fund.lrn.fm.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We'll go to your calls here in just a second, but I want to make sure that I let you know about a new way that you can listen to Free Talk Live, and that would be the Liberty Radio Network audio on-demand listen lines. 641-793-9660. You never need to miss any of the shows on the Liberty Radio Network because, well, you can listen on your phone. No app to download. There's no podcast, nothing that you have to download. You don't even need a smartphone. You can use a landline if you still have one. 641-793-9660. And there's a newer feature to the listen line, and that is the feedback line. So after you call 641-793-9660 and press 2 to listen to Free Talk Live, if you're not listening live and unable to call in, then you can press 0 at any time and leave a message.
The chump line.
We're not calling it that.
Have you come up with a name
Stop
yet?
trying to call it that. That's not what we're calling it.
How about the Trump line?
No, we're also not calling it that.
Come on.
It's the LRN listener feedback line. 641-793-9660. Press 2 to listen to Free Talk Live. And then at any point, you can press 0 to leave a message. Let's go to Skype where we have Ian. Not that Ian, a different Ian. On Skype, Ian, you're on Free Talk Live with Darryl, Chris, and Conan. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Hello, guys. First of all, I should say my name is Max. I'm using my son's Skype account because I am computer illiterate.
All right, well, welcome to the show, Max. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Tort reform in China. I've lived here a long time, and I've seen a lot of change. But the scariest change in the world has begun this year. The government now allows...
Max, your connection is getting a little choppy.
How about that?
No, try calling us back, and hopefully the connection will wind up being better. I think he had called in last night.
Tort reform in China.
Yes.
Yeah, is anyone familiar with what's the goings on?
I confess I am not an expert in this subject, but I'll read up on it.
Aren't Chiners the bad guys and Russians too? Isn't that what they tell us on the news?
They tell you a lot of things on the news, and from the list that we began the show with of 20 reasons not to vote, they make the claim that people are uninformed and unable to make an intelligent choice because they listen to biased mainstream media, government-run news channels, politicians, party manifestos, and were taught in the state school education indoctrination system.
Is there any modifier in there like most people or anything? It just says people.
An individual's ability to make an informed choice is 0.
Chris, I would
false
say
and insulting.
I would say even the people who I go to because I believe that they are informed individuals, I would still not want them voting and making decisions on my behalf unless we got together and talked about it beforehand.
Well,
and
then
I could opt out if I decided I was not happy with your decision on my behalf.
All right, so
yeah, I trust you guys and I trust your judgment, but you know what? I don't want you voting for me.
Sure.
Well, I would vote for nobody forces Conan to do anything as long as Conan votes for nobody forces Darryl to do anything.
So voting in self-defense, which is not on this list.
Right, because they don't believe that such a thing exists. Number 15 on their list, voting sends a false signal to the elected politicians that the voter approves of their policies, of all of their policies. Voters, therefore, encourage them.
No argument there, but that's a little bit of a chutzpah on behalf of the politicians.
We have council members and mayors in our own town who I believe they believe that they are the anointed ones. Absolutely. And that all of their decisions are crystalline and good to go because 200 people voted for me in a population of 23,000.
They wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here if they didn't want it.
But again, this seems to claim that somebody that votes nobody or I don't want this tax increase is somehow responsible for the person getting elected or the tax increase going through.
Yeah, which just defies logic to me.
And it also says that you approve of all of the policies, which is an absolutely false analogy. It would be like saying, Darryl, you're friends with Conan, so therefore you condone everything Conan does.
If they're in your party, Darryl, then you must agree with everything that they agree with. Because parties all stick together, right? All of the.
Good thing I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. Number 16, if an individual has not come to firm conclusion about election, that individual will do more for their country community by not voting rather than by making a mistake.
What's a mistake? It's an individual choice. See, that's the whole thing. Is all this comes down to me, is the right of the individual to do as he pleases. And one could argue, okay, nap. As long as he doesn't hurt anybody else, and can you really say that your active voting is hurting someone else? I guess that's what maybe this is trying to argue, but...
Number 17, if the outcome of a vote is unknown, then voting is tantamount to gambling. If the outcome is known, then voting is futile. Do they mean known beforehand or known after? Because
I would say
this still doesn't make any sense.
I would say if it's some sort of government legislation or mandate or decision, there's a pretty good chance it's going to cost a lot of money and it's not going to be as effective and efficient as something the free market could handle.
Sure.
So I'm going to say, yeah, it's all not good. It's all bad.
Number 8,
even if I don't know what it is, it's government. It's bad. Sorry guys, I'm not voting for it.
Number 18 on the list, they say no individual has the authority to make laws their neighbor or anyone else must obey. Then how is it morally acceptable for an individual to delegate authority they don't have to someone such as a politician?
Correct.
And I agree. That's why I vote in self-defense. I vote for people that I know are going to try to repeal laws. I vote against tax increases. I vote against increased spending when such things are on the ballot.
Sure.
Or loss of security. Loss of your individual freedoms and rights.
Yeah, and here's my point. There are a lot of activists out there that hold lots and lots of positions in all sorts of levels in government, all the way from, small towns all across the country up to guys like Justin Amash, who I think is doing a pretty respectable job where he's at. I can't slight them for doing what they feel is an effective method to affect a little bit of change in the country. It's just not to me a horrible thing.
Number 19, and this does not necessarily seem to be a reason that you should not vote. It seems to be a reason to limit who is allowed to vote. They say, should people who know more about game shows, sports, reality TV, and celebrities rather than matters of any real importance, economics, political philosophy, history, logic, critical thinking, be in a position to vote and influence the lives of others?
Only if you're voting on something that has to do with game shows and reality television.
That does sound a little elitist, though. I was like, you're not smart enough to vote, but he's smart enough.
Wait a minute. Do you own any property? That's what
exactly.
That's the only thing that really matters in my book.
Number 20, supporting the lesser of two evils is still supporting evil, and I absolutely agree with that. That's why I don't vote for the lesser evils, whether it be the lesser of two evils or the lesser of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. If there's somebody that's running that I think is evil, I'm not voting for them. I don't care what party name is next to theirs on the ballot. Your calls and thoughts, 855-450 free.
This is a warning to all household pests, to all cockroaches, spiders, ants, rodents, and other pests. If you've just made yourself at home in someone else's home, you'd better hope the owners never hear about Terminix, Because Terminix has the know-how and the means to do whatever it takes to remove you from that home. Terminix has over 85 years of experience exterminating invaders like you. And right now, they're making it easier than ever for homes to be protected by offering a free pest estimate to every caller at 1-800-689-2939. Cockroaches, spiders, ants, rodents, and other pests. This is your eviction notice. With one call, Terminix will remove you from the home you've invaded. If you think you can simply come back later, think again. Terminix will protect that home with a 100% satisfaction money-back guarantee, so you can never return. Warning, homeowners are calling Terminix right now for a free pest estimate at 1-800-689-2939. 1-800-689-2939.
Limitations apply. See plan for details.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Injury Help Desk is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states.
Attention prescription antibiotic drug users. Have you or a loved one suffered an aortic dissection, aortic aneurysm, or abdominal aortic aneurysm after taking the prescription antibiotic drugs Levaquin or Avelox? These popular antibiotic drugs have been prescribed more than 80 million times since 2004, and medical studies show an increased risk of the following injuries: aortic dissection, aortic aneurysm, and abdominal aortic aneurysm. If you or a loved one used the prescription antibiotic drugs Levaquin or Avelox and suffered from aortic dissection, aortic aneurysm, or abdominal aortic aneurysm, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. You may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-823-3851. 800-823-3851. 800-823-3851.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up. Standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In studio tonight is Darryl,
Chris,
and Conan.
And we just went through a list of 20 reasons not to vote. And they then, at the end of their list, give basically the TLDR, the too long didn't read. They say, if you're not a voluntarist, then by definition, you're an involuntarist, and as such, personally advocate the initiation of force or threat of force against people who have not treated, or rather not threatened or harmed anyone. Therefore, for every person in the world, one of these two statements is true. I advocate a society where people are free to voluntarily interact with one another. Or I advocate the use of force and threat of force against innocent people in order to make them comply with my opinions and preferences.
But this is just levels. I mean, because if you were to go stop someone on the street right now and ask them, if they were voluntarists and you didn't define it, they would say, yeah, when I go to the supermarket, I get no one's making me go to the supermarket.
Excuse me, sir. If you stop them on the street, then you have involuntarily initiated contact with them, and therefore you cannot claim to be a voluntarist.
I did not put my hands on them. I said, hey, dude, come stop right there and talk to me.
Block their path of locomotion in doing so.
But if you told them that, well, what about taxation? For the roads and for education and for the military, and they'd be like, no, that's all good to go. I mean, I'm not a slave.
All right,
we need those things.
All right, quick question. Show of hands, who thought it was a decent article?
This thing?
I just wanted to trick you guys into voting.
I don't know. But yeah, again, if you ask people, do you believe that all human interaction should be voluntary?
They'll say they already believe in that.
I think the vast majority of people would say, yeah, that sounds good.
And they go promptly pay their tax check to the, whatever municipality or the feds or whatever.
That's what this whole thing's always been about for me. It's about education, and people have never been exposed to these ideas. I mean, my God, I made it to close to 50 years old before I was exposed to any of these ideas.
Or when they do hear about it.
In any meaningful manner.
Or when they do hear about it, it's Wesley Snipes, and he's living in Africa and tax evading and gets thrown in prison for however many years. He was 5 years
Right,
or so.
Or people see sovereign citizens arguing with cops about whether they have any jurisdiction over their body. And, so there's always going to be that sort of... That it's an educational process, and I don't try to instantly change people's mind, but I do like to, have conversations about particular issues and see if I can help them come around, because it makes sense to me. If it makes sense to me, maybe it'll make sense to you.
How many years were the abolitionists working against colored slavery in this country?
Decades.
Yeah. I mean, and this is just another type of slavery, and it's just going to take a long time to wake people up to the idea that you are in fact a slave if someone owns a part of you, whether it be your body or the blood, sweat, and tears, your labor or your property, then you're a slave. And when do you wake up to the fact? When do you wake up to that idea and say, hey, you know what? I'm tired of living like this. I want to keep my my labor.
Right, and I guess the question becomes, at what percentage of slavery is it no longer slavery? So if somebody claims that they own 30% of everything you own and produce, is that slavery or no? If they say 70%, is that slavery or no? Or is it only if they claim to control everything?
Yeah, but but here's the argument, Darryl. This is why it's so hard to talk to these people, because they'll say, all right, yeah, 30% of my livelihood is taken from me, but it goes to pay for things that I need, like education and roads and all these and military to protect me from bad guys. So that's the problem. So they're like, oh no, I might not agree with everything that the government spends its money on, but a lot of the things it does are things that I need.
I think what we'll see, should something drastic change in our tax code. So let's say everything changes and Gary Johnson's elected, and we go to some sort of a consumption tax, where it's a
consumption tax where every man, woman, and child in the United States is on welfare.
Darryl, we weren't talking about that. I was just bringing up the fact. Let's say there's
that's the consumption tax that Gary Johnson wants. He wants to send everybody a check at the beginning of the month to cover what he estimates they will spend on his consumption tax.
Okay, let me use a different example. Let's say that somebody comes up and says, you know what, our tax code's a gigantic mess. It's too complicated. We're going to have a flat tax. It's going to be 8%, and that's it. And that's it. 8%. I think you would have a huge amount of the population that would go, oh my God, from the 50, 60% I was paying before, add up all those taxes. this is a deal. I feel like I'm getting a good value for my 9%. You know, maybe I don't have all the government programs I did before, but I got the ones I need.
So the slave who had to work 6 days out of the week just got 3 more free days, and so now he's only
something like that.
Now he's got, and he can own his own tools, and he can marry whoever he wants on the plantation. He doesn't have to ask. He doesn't have to ask Mass's permission.
But I think that's how it would be perceived, and I think if we saw a presidential candidate that came along and said, you know what, we're going to drop the tax rate by 3%, I think people would be like, oh my God, 3% back. This is great, and we still have all our government programs.
Right,
this is perfect.
That reminds me, actually, this entire conversation reminds me of the Noam Chomsky quote where he says, the smart way to keep people passive and obedient is to strictly limit the spectrum of acceptable opinion, but allow very lively debate within that spectrum.
Why didn't he just say bread and circuses?
I love going outside of the spectrum. And, well, we've got somebody on the phones that will probably do that right now. Let's go to Ricky calling in from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Ricky, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Darryl, I got something really interesting for you tonight, but I got a quick question. The call screener guy said something about that could I have my Bluetooth speaker on, that I can't be on speakerphone or something when I'm on the air? Do I sound bad or something?
Speakerphone generally is not very audio friendly for the airwaves.
Right now you sound fine.
I sound good, okay? I sound good, don't I?
Right now you're fine.
Right now you're fine. Just go ahead with your thoughts.
All right. Well, a really interesting thing. It goes down like this. Now, I met a woman at a point. I happened to be out and about, and she was kind of lost in that. And I took her in to help her out. But she got in trouble. She ended up going to jail. She ended up, gaining basically 3 felonies out of it. One of them was reckless endangerment, and there was 2 other ones. Now, what ended up happening is she was in jail. She was in a month. She was let out. She was at my house, left on her own recognizance. And then what happened after that is now she, unfortunately, broke her parole. Now she went to jail this time for 90 days. Now it gets better. Now what happened is, and there's a big punchline to this, now after she's in there for 90 days, she was then left out on her own recognizance. She immediately goes out, buys a bottle of alcohol, which broke her parole. Somebody ratted her out, immediately goes back in. Now she went in for another 90 days. Now here's the punchline. You ready?
Let us have it, Ricky.
Go ahead.
Okay, now, and this is keeping with Commonwealth law. Now, she said 2 things over and over again. She said, I want to get out and I never want to come back. Now, she was a total of 8 months in and out since last, November. Now, this is the only way she was getting out. It's under supervision. Basically, what happened was, this was a decision by the court, and I know that some of the states do some things like this. I was basically, when it comes to her, deputized. Now, here's how this works. She is my responsibility. I also need to basically, she has no money now. I have to feed her and things like that. And more than that, I had to take the traditional oath, which is, are you sure? Are you sure you're sure? And you're sure you're sure. And as a result, if she breaks parole, basically when it comes to her, I'm more or less a cop for the next 90 days.
So you can shoot her.
Now, after 90 days, she can just go free on her own, do whatever she wants.
Who deputizes you? Did you, or is that?
No. That was done by the parole office, and that was done through the court.
Not sure if you've got more, Ricky. Hold on. This is Free Talk Live. Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. The root cause of most of society's ills is neither malice nor negligence, but a mere superstition, an unquestioned assumption which has been accepted on faith by nearly everyone of all ages, races, religions, education, and income levels. The Most Dangerous Superstition by Larkin Rose exposes the myth for what it is, showing how nearly everyone, as a result of one particular unquestioned assumption, is directly contributing to violence and oppression without even realizing it. Find The Most Dangerous Superstition on Amazon and larkinrose.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
In Survivor Max 2, School Bites, Max must scavenge through a wasteland swarming with the undead. Desperate to find the medicine he needs, he discovers a community of survivors at his former school. Has he finally found the safe haven he's been looking for, or will he discover that school bites? Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, and read Chapter 1 at survivormax.com.
Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, July 28th, 2016. Silver is trading at $20.44 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,345 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $659. Antiwar.com reports with officials continuing to assure the world that coup plotters had infiltrated anything and everything in Turkey. The post-coup purge seems able to target any given industry at any moment. One day the government is rounding up disloyal generals, and the next it's firing the dean of every university in the country. On Wednesday, it was the media's turn. Officials are reporting that over 100 media outlets have been closed over ties to exiled cleric Fethullah Gulen, including 45 daily newspapers and 16 television stations. Incredibly, among the newspapers ordered closed was Zaman, which was nationalized for Gulen ties way back in March. Turkish officials seem insistent that the old Zaman's influence extended to a coup that happened 4 months after they were closed, with arrest warrants issued for 47 former employees. That they closed the new Zaman, which they already run and which had been slavishly loyal to Erdogan, is just bizarre and reflects growing paranoia about any perceived dissent. The Erdogan government has long been ruthless in cracking down on critical media, at any rate arresting reporters as terrorists for unflattering stories, particularly those critical of the government offensives against the ethnic Kurdish minority. That crackdown never really stopped, but the coup has justified an even further acceleration. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports prosecutors in Baltimore on Wednesday dropped all charges related to the arrest and death of Freddie Gray for 3 police officers. The move by Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby will conclude the high-profile case, meaning there will be no convictions or criminal accountability related to Gray's death. Charges, including involuntary manslaughter, were dropped against Officer Garrett Miller, Sergeant Alicia White, and Officer William Porter. Gray sustained a fatal spinal injury on April 12, 2015, while being driven in a police van after he was arrested. His death sparked weeks of protest, riots, and looting in Baltimore and ignited the Black Lives Matter movement nationwide. Prosecutors previously said officers did not do enough to get Gray medical attention after he was injured while handcuffed but not buckled into a seat in the back of the van. Porter's trial ended in a mistrial in December. Officer Edward Nero and Caesar Goodson Jr. were acquitted in separate trials in May and June. Baltimore police officer Lieutenant Brian Rice, the highest-ranking officer to respond to the incident that led to Gray's death, was found not guilty of involuntary manslaughter, misconduct in office, and reckless endangerment on July 18th. Mosby told the Baltimore Sun on Wednesday, "I wanted to be able to expose the systemic issues, and I think that's one of the reasons why we said we would probably drop the remaining cases so we can try to work towards a solution," adding, "At the end of the day, this was just a process. The officers received due process, the verdict was rendered, and at the end of the day, I believe justice was served." When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports a Wisconsin appeals court ruled on Wednesday that 2 teenagers should be tried as adults on charges that they attempted to kill a classmate by stabbing her repeatedly to please a fictional internet character named Slenderman. The girls, Anissa Wire and Morgan Geyser, have been in custody since they were charged with attempted first-degree homicide in the May 2014 attack in Waukesha, Wisconsin, a suburb of Milwaukee. All 3 girls were 12 years old at the time of the stabbing. In a pair of rulings, the 2nd District Court of Appeals determined that the Waukesha County Circuit Court probably exercised its discretion given the facts presented and made a decision a reasonable judge could make. The girls can appeal to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
The American Psychiatric Association has issued an alarming study warning that the nation's used car salesmen are going completely insane, and in some extreme cases, practically giving cars away. The APA traces the outbreak of widespread hysteria to an apparent overstock of high-quality late-model cars begging to be driven off the lot today. Some severe symptoms include delusions, manic exuberance, and a psychotic commitment to offer the lowest prices guaranteed. Victims' families are joining together to raise awareness of this serious psychological epidemic.
The authorities found out how unbelievably low his prices were. They'd lock him up and throw away the key.
You are not alone. Over half of America's used car salesmen are currently going bonkers.
Car dealers suffering from this condition are prone to project their own disorders onto others. According to Mad Max, the Car Czar's website, you're out of your mind if you're not taking advantage of these low, low prices.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We are kicking off hour number 2, the we being me, Darryl,
Chris,
and Conan.
And let's go back to the phones. We've got Ricky calling in from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And if you don't say Commonwealth, well, then Ricky will make sure to mention it like 5 times. He called in last hour.
Better than the 100 times Greg said state and like black and the 5 other things I could mention. So I do live here after all.
You forgot to mention, Darryl, Deputy Ricky.
Right. So Ricky called in the last hour, told us that he recently got deputized to oversee the probation or parole of some woman that he met. Not sure if it's your girlfriend, but
no.
Continue.
She was the girl I was helping out. You know, she was like, she was freaking out, and I bumped into her, and I took her in, and I said, you know, I'll show you how things work. You know, she's from kind of out of town, and just.
So why are you the one that got deputized to take care of her? Why is a probation officer not overseeing this?
Wait, Ricky, did you save her life, and now that you are responsible for her? Is that how that works?
Well, here's how this works. What I had to go through, first of all, besides taking the oath 3 times, which is traditional according to everything that's written up here, but also I had to go through a deep background check. That's the other thing. Now, I will say,
who checked you? The police?
No, that was not. That was the parole officer on behalf of the courts.
Okay, that doesn't seem to be unusual. If they're going to deputize somebody, it seems normal that there would be a background check. So what's the problem?
Ask me questions, or you want me to give you the update?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, here's the one little problem. In fact, she just came in, because she decided that, you see, because I didn't pick her up because I don't drive, so somebody else picked her up, and she didn't tell them. I'm surprised they even let them, because the original person, I think, that was going to pick her up didn't. So her son picked her up, and he had to go down late in the game tonight, because tomorrow, if she would have still been out there, I would have had to call up the parole officer, and I wouldn't have had to call her, but if she called me tomorrow, because they were very busy today, I would have had to say what happened, and I would have been nailed with a felony.
Okay, then what if you don't want to be, basically responsible for this individual? Why did you agree to be deputized?
I'm fine with it. You know why? Because I don't want to see. They know she's not a hardened criminal. She just, for whatever reason, keeps doing stupid stuff. As an example, the last time she broke her parole, she went to her PO. She drank beforehand, and then she went alone. She was here. She went there, and they did a test, a pee test. She calls me up and says, "Oh, I think I'm in trouble." I said, "Why is that?" They said, "Well, the test." I said, "Wendy, what did you do?" I said, "Well," she said, "I told them that somebody must have put it in my water bottle." I said, "Oh, God, don't give you 6 months." She only got another 90 days. Luckily.
I tell you.
Here she is today.
I hate stories like this. Nothing against you, Ricky.
I know, and you know what? It's really horrible, and that's why I'm doing this, to help her.
Right. What I hate is stories of people that get into the system and can't get out of the system, and oftentimes it involves substance abuse. And this is something that, in I'll say my extended family, that we've been dealing with too, and it is in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that once you get hit with one thing, it's very easy, almost for anything, to get popped with a violation of parole, and then you're back in, and you're waiting on that next court date.
I don't know why she keeps doing it. I mean, I've dealt with so many people already. It's beyond me, Conan. Any ideas?
Well, I mean, how long have you been a deputy? Are you ready to give it up?
This just started for me. I was actually deputized yesterday. No, was it yesterday? It was I think it was the other day. It would have been the 26th.
So Tuesday.
So your title is a deputy parole officer or something like that?
Basically, when it comes to her, I'm deputized basically as a cop when it pertains to her, and I have to act as one, as a deputized officer.
Yeah.
And that's keeping with my record and my reputation.
Well, good luck with everything, Ricky, and hopefully you can keep her out of trouble. And I do know that there's a lot of people in Pennsylvania that basically do what is called life on the installment plan, to where, as Chris mentioned, they'll get in the system and then, like minor little things just keep, you violated parole, you violated parole, you violated parole, and you keep going back short periods of time.
It sounds like she needs a hobby. Once you get
it sounds like Ricky also needs a hobby, and
he's got a hobby. He calls into the show.
Yeah, and it also sounds
he was
like
a lot more coherent tonight than he normally is.
Well, that's
and it also sounds
the mantle of responsibility that can do that to some people.
Yeah, and I can't judge a lot just based on a phone call, but it sounds like the girl's got some substance abuse problems, and that is not a law enforcement thing to treat. That's a medical thing to treat.
Right. And speaking of incoherent callers, let's go to Sarah calling in from New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
I'm very coherent. I'm not maniac right now. Okay, I'm pretty level.
You're always level.
Well, no, you know what? You have never seen me in my manic episode, during the full moon. But anyways,
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
I want to talk about that. The rental car businesses are offering lower rates for the cars with cameras on the inside and outside. So if you're willing to be monitored...
Cameras on the outside of the cars?
Well, of course. I mean, the whole thing is they want to monitor your driving.
Well,
whether you're
hold on. So you're not talking about a camera that's inside that points out. You're talking about cameras that are actually on the exterior of the car.
Well, you know what? I don't know how they do it, but they want to monitor your behavior.
Yeah, fortunately, Sarah, we have an actual expert in the rental car industry.
We don't have any cars with cameras on. Oh, we got the backup cameras, which, by the way, suck. People do not get used to using the backup cameras. They are horrible.
I like mine.
We don't have any interior or exterior cameras on our cars except for, like I said, the backup camera.
Okay, so here's my take on this. A rental car company makes a huge investment in a huge fleet of automobiles, hires tons and tons of people for cleaning, maintenance, to operate desks and things like that. They want to take care of their assets, so they say, you know what? We'll give you a better price if you take one of our cars that it's got some GPS location. It's going to monitor your speed. It's going to make sure you're not reckless. If you violate any of that stuff, we're going to jack your rate up to the normal rate or whatever.
Now, I can see the GPS monitor, but not cameras.
Why
That's
not?
strange.
No, hold on. So it's probably that thing similar to what they call the Freedom Cam, where it's rolling on like a 60-second loop. And then if there's an accident, they're able to see exactly what happened just before the accident.
Very likely. But
so it's not one of these things of where they've got a GoPro that films everything you do for the 7 days you have the camera.
You're talking about the outside of the car. Is it interior or
No, it's the thing that mounts in the windshield. And there's a camera that points into the passenger area, and there's a camera that points forward.
Yeah,
Right, and then plus, something, they'll say, well, I don't smoke, and if they're not being watched, they say, well, I don't have pets, and they'll bring a pet in and leave cat hair or dog hair.
Yeah.
They're not being watched. I mean,
a camera's not going to stop somebody from bringing a cat into the car after they say they don't have a cat.
Well, it may or it may not.
If there's a $130 cleaning fee, then yes, they will.
Oh yeah. So the
$130 cleaning fee will deter them from bringing a cat into the car. A camera isn't.
Yeah, but as a smoker, I've been in plenty of non-smoking rental cars. Sorry for all you non-smokers that rented behind me, but yeah, a lot of them said no smoking. I'm like, well, nobody's going to know this anyway.
Sarah, thank you for the call.
On my way back to turn in the car, I stop and buy a bottle of Febreze. No harm, no foul.
Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
This is a life-changing message for anyone with sleep apnea who is on the go and tired of dragging around a big, bulky home CPAP device. MiniCPAP.com now offers a portable device that's as small as a soda can and weighs less than a pound. For even more freedom, you can add a battery that's as tiny as a deck of cards. It's called the Transcend Mini CPAP, and right now you can try it risk-free for 10 days by calling 1-800-941-9483. Transcend is the world's first portable mini CPAP device. It gives you the freedom to sleep in total comfort anywhere you are. Our smallest and most advanced portable design ever, Transcend is so small and so light you can fit it in your briefcase or purse to use anywhere you go. It's FAA compliant too, so you can even sleep comfortably while flying. Enjoy the freedom to sleep comfortably anywhere. Call minicpap.com now for your 10-day at-home trial. 1-800-941-9483. That's 1-800-941-9483.
Do you know that good digestion is your body's first line of defense? Millions of Americans suffer from poor digestion. It shows up in the form of heartburn, acid reflux, GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, indigestion, constipation, diarrhea, and many other symptoms. Healthy digestion relies on armies of friendly bacteria. These good bugs keep bad bugs in check. Probimune, a new, uniquely developed probiotic, is scientifically proven to get to your gut and deliver the benefits of improved digestion. Probimune is an immune system booster and a digestive health enhancer. It's simple to use, and most importantly, you will feel Probimune working, soothing, and relaxing the gut. Get yours today by visiting younghealth.com or call 800-396-9024. Again, that's 800-396-9024. Use coupon code DIGEST to receive 15% off your first order.
Nothing you do or say will ever reach the lofty heights attained by the following news summary. This is the Onion Week in Review. Facing increased market pressure and a shrinking bottom line, media company Star Trove was forced to lay off dozens of unskilled bloggers this week. Sources confirmed that before being dismissed, many of the bloggers had been with the company for months, regularly performing menial tasks such as describing celebrity outfits and composing quizzes about Disney characters.
I mean, I'd been with this company for almost a year. It wasn't the most rewarding job, and I didn't have health insurance, but it paid the bills. I'm already 25 years old. I just don't know where to go from here.
In other news, a 6-day visit to a rural African village completely changes a woman's Facebook profile picture. A new dating website helps plus-size Jewish plane crash survivors find love. And a kid figures he'll go down the slide 36 more times and then call it a day.
This is the Onion News Network.
For years, LRN.FM has had a listen line that you can call and listen to LRN.FM anytime. Now we're taking the idea to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on-demand line. You can call 641-793-9660 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed, and you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long-distance fees may apply. Just dial 641-793-9660 and choose from the menu 641-793-9660. Arcade City is a ride-sharing app built by drivers, not a mega corporation. As a driver with Arcade City, you can keep all of what you earn. Sign up now to drive for or ride with Arcade City at arcade.freetalklive.com. Arcade City is connecting drivers directly with riders and has been making headlines for disrupting the ride-sharing industry. Sign up now at arcade.freetalklive.com. That's arcade.freetalklive.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We'll get back into your calls in just a moment, as well as tell you the story about what happened when Donald Trump had an Ask Me Anything on Reddit. You might not believe what happened, but first want to make sure that I tell you about the official Bitcoin wallet of Free Talk Live, and that would be Jaxx, Jaxx. You can get it at jaxx.io or find it in the App Store of your choice. There is no wallet like it. It holds Bitcoin, Ether, and DAO tokens, and they're working on adding more currencies soon. There's Shapeshift integration that allows for frictionless, easy exchange between currencies. It was created by Anthony Diorio, the creator of CryptoKit and the founder of Ethereum. He's also the chief digital officer of the Toronto Stock Exchange. It is easy to back up your wallet and recover funds with Jaxx, and Jaxx is striving to give you command over your digital life. Coins, contracts, currencies, identity, and more. Your digital command center in the palm of your hand. Jaxx, that's jaxx.io. Jaxx is the official Bitcoin wallet of Free Talk Live. Let's go to Ralph calling in from New Jersey. Ralph, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Yeah, the present-day Democratic Party, in this country would be the equivalent of the Nazi Party of Hitler back in World War II. And I thought I was watching when I, look at the spectacle going on right now, or the circus, to be, to give it an apt description, the circus going on there in Philly. I thought that, I was watching a convention, but
so hold on, I've got a couple questions for you, Ralph. New Jersey is not too far from Philadelphia. Did you decide to go across the river to go see that spectacle?
No.
Okay, and you said that you believe that the Democrats today would be the Nazis of the 1930s. What makes you say that?
Right. Well, for one thing, you have the parade of victims, okay, and they highlight the Black Lives Matter with this parade of victims, and then comes...
You know that Hitler didn't like black people, right?
Did I what?
Do you know that Adolf Hitler did not like black people?
Oh, we could say that. That would be correct,
Right, but you're saying that people involved with Black Lives Matter would have also been Nazis, and that just seems to either be an absolutely ignorant statement or you're lying.
No, that's not lying. I mean, look at
He's an expressing an opinion.
And the chaos that these people is stirring up in this country. But this is more like a Nazi rally, the Nuremberg trial, and then you with the parade of victims comes after that Michelle Obama digging up grievances, digging up issues that pertains to the issue of race.
Okay,
now,
can I?
You think that David Duke is a racist? You think that David Duke is a racist?
Absolutely.
I mean, why didn't they? Okay, if that's the case, why don't Obama go to New Orleans and challenge him right now?
Well, I'm going to take a little bit of issue with your whole premise. But I'm going to.
Why would he do that? Why do you think he would not do that?
Because Obama is a lousy president and a lousy politician.
He's the great Satan.
This isn't the first time that he's doing that. I remember, the first time that he threw his glass. I believe that was when he was running for the glass. When he was running, the last time he ran for public office, it was for the governorship of Louisiana. And the president at that time was a Republican, the father of W.
Okay.
W. Okay.
Yep.
And this has never happened in our country before, wherein not only the Democrat but the Republican Party condemned this man, and he actually got an appearance on network television. You guys remember that the TV show back in the day, Primetime Live on ABC? That's when I have a chance encounter with a David Duke.
So, hold on. So, how is it Barack Obama's fault that David Duke was allowed on primetime television?
Was not allowed on what?
No, you said that it was Obama's fault that David Duke was allowed on primetime television. And I'm asking you how it's Obama's fault that somebody let David Duke on television.
No. This was back in the days before Obama.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to say, why didn't they invite him? If they are all about racial grievances, then for goodness sakes, we know the history of the Democratic Party. The tendency comes out of the Democratic Party. Why didn't David Duke allow to speak before the quote-unquote convention? Huh?
Okay. Can I jump in here, Ralph?
Did
Please do.
David Duke speak at the Republican convention?
No. But he is running again. But here's where I differ from you, Ralph. And you and I agree on a number of things. I don't know if Obama is the great Satan, but he sure acts like it. You and I are in agreement on that. You compared the Democratic Party to Nazis. I think that's not an apt comparison. I think Nazism... Now, hold on. I'm going to give you a bone here. You're going to like it. Nazism is National Socialism. That is promotion of your state and its greatness, and how together, if you just follow my bad policies, we can do anything. That, to me, is the epitomization of the Republican Party to where it's evolved to. When you talk about the Democrats, I think you're talking about international socialism, and that's something I attribute more to like the regimes of Stalin and the old Russia, where it was, look at all the enemies we have and the people are being oppressed. Therefore, you must fall in line with my horrible ideas so we can solve them.
So that we can be equal.
So everybody will be equal and everybody will have something. That's the difference I see. So, like I said, I don't consider the Democrats Nazis, but I do look back at Russia. Are we in agreement on that?
Fine, sir. Okay, to the degree that you make your case, in that way, I will agree with you. Okay?
Thank you.
But however, I think this country needs to have a root awakening. Okay, look at how the socialist revolution is turning out. This is what we call it. From straight out of the playbook of Simon Bolivar. We always familiar about Simon Bolivar, the hero of the revolution in South America. Okay, this straight out of the playbook of Simon Bolivar. We call it the socialist revolution over in Venezuela. Now, how's that turning out? People are hungry. Okay?
Yet nobody here is advocating for socialism, Ralph. Thank you for the call. Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. And we're on Skype. Username LRN.FM.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pileski of the Pileski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states.
Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your get intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com. The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government. The real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We're still going to tell you what happened when the loud orange guy running for president had an AMA on Reddit.
It's
Chris
huge.
has that story. But first, let's go to the phones. We've got Parker calling in from Washington. Parker, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Hey, guys. So I contacted you about a day or two ago about this video game idea, and I sent you a message on Facebook. Have you guys seen that message?
I don't look at the messages on Facebook. Ian may have seen it, but Ian's not in the studio tonight.
Tell us about it.
Okay, so the general rundown is, as I said the other night, that you're a regular person. You're not a politician or anything, but you're a regular person who's basically watching the rise of an authoritarian state, as pretty much all authoritarian states are, or all states are. And
so far, it's not too hard to imagine.
And you're watching a particular politician rise in popularity, kind of like a Adolf Hitler kind of person, or Donald Trump, or Hillary Clinton. I don't care. Just
also not too hard to imagine.
Pick your poison.
And essentially, it's like a mystery horror survival game. And what you do is every action that you do in the game, every piece of dialogue that you choose, which way it goes, determines which path you take. Will you be the freedom fighter who's condemned and who's like on the run, or will you be the oppressor? And essentially, there will be all these different situations in game where you have to make a choice. The choice comes down to you, and that choice will determine literally every other part of the game from there on out. So let's say you're driving down the street in game, and you see a cop on the side of the road who's ticketing someone. Do you decide to keep driving, or do you decide to get involved? There's literally so many different ideas for situations that I could just go on. And
so let me ask this question. What's the ultimate objective of this game other than to play a video game version of real life?
The objective is... Well,
it's to get Ron Paul in office.
As the game progresses, the state will become more and more authoritarian. If you play it right, you will be on the run from the state, and the state will be looking for you and trying to...
So it sounds like you're doing a video game version of real life. What's the actual objective, or are you just trying to have something that's a video game version of real life?
Well, the objective is to not die. There's it would kind of mirror the Holocaust in a way.
I'm with him on this.
It sounds more like an educational game, and when people play educational games, they get turned off.
Yeah. Well, no, maybe not.
Especially when a lot of folks, want to play the bad guy. And in this case, if you play the bad guy, I guess you could be a bad guy, but you're a rule follower, and so you actually don't get killed, but people around you get killed because you're a good rule follower.
Okay, let me get into that. So if you decide to be a rule follower or an order follower, a lot of the game is cutscene driven, like L.A. Noire, or at least the concept is.
Okay.
So if you decide
to like rat out your neighbor who's smoking weed.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, or there's other things. But basically, if you decide to be a rule follower or an order follower, then you may decide. I mean, the idea is kind of that you go from being a regular citizen to being a cop or something.
Right.
If you go that route.
Can I hop in here?
Please do.
Just a second. And then from there, if you keep following orders, it will get more will be asked of you, more and more and more, and it will become more draconian and more Orwellian to the point where you have to make a choice. And there's choices at every point. You can make a choice to say, no, that's wrong, or you can just go ahead and do it. And if you go all the way down the line, where the ultimate result is, you will essentially be convicted of being a war criminal, and right before you get executed, you'll watch every pivotal moment, every
your
crucial
life
decision where you were where you committed atrocities right before those bullets hit you.
All right, so I see one major flaw of how this is not reality. The war criminals actually wind up getting convicted. Chris, go ahead with your thought.
No, I was hoping you would get around to that point, and I think a game that mirrored real life in the ideas of liberty, and if you do want to be your own person and you do want to start your own business, and maybe you don't want to go get a building permit when you should have got a building permit, it does bring some heat down on you. But is your character in the game happier because of it? Yes. Then maybe that's great. And I love the concept that you can be a rule follower, and it starts out by today you have to pay your taxes. Do you want to pay your taxes? Yes or no? And the answer is yes. So you pay your taxes. But as it goes on, just the state asks more and more until it just gets horrific and horrible. I love that concept.
I think it's interesting, but it's not anything that I think would do well on the mass market. Parker, thank you.
Well, hold on now. I like this. I like this tax evasion thing. So, anyways, it takes 3 years before they actually take your house. They send all the letters and
depending on where you're at,
and they ask you to come before council and talk. And you're like, no, I'm going to continue growing weed in my backyard and holding on to my house and doing whatever I do. And finally, 3 years later, they finally come. They got guns, and now it's like in Grand Theft Auto, where the more police you shoot, the more show up, and before you know, they got helicopters and tanks. So it's like, how long can I hold out in this situation? I think it would require the developers to actually, they would have to be libertarian or anarchist. They would actually have,
you could find them.
Because a lot of times you just don't have, this concept doesn't exist in games where you can hold out against the atrocious empire, because the empire is good in games, right?
Depends on what game you're playing. Well, I think it's interesting, and I don't want to downplay the guy at all, because he has an idea that's pretty off the wall. I can't tell if it'll be a commercial success or if it ends up being sort of like the video game version of The Silver Circle, a movie I really wanted to really, really like, and I liked the plot and I liked everything else, but it was kind of choppy.
Yeah, it was one of those things of, like there was that small group of people that were like, yeah, this is great, and okay, now what?
Maybe if the Wachowski sisters, or they're sisters now, right?
All right.
Maybe if they were to do it,
They identify that way? Maybe.
I don't know. There's
I guess.
The Wachowskis.
Yeah.
Maybe if they did it, it might be all right.
Yeah, if the caller's still out there, don't let Darryl rain on your parade. Keep going. I think it sounds intriguing.
I didn't tell the man don't create it. I just said it's not something that I would buy or play. I'm giving the man some legitimate feedback. I'm not going to blow smoke up your butt and tell you, oh yeah, I'll buy 1,000 copies when I'm not even going to buy what. I wouldn't even torrent the thing.
You could be anything if you just try hard enough.
As far as creativity is concerned, I find that this is usually something that is lacking in the liberty community, because it seems that, and Darryl, you're a big one, you're very serious about the message and about portraying the message accurately and getting all the facts right. And when it actually comes to, the title, the picture, the quality of the video, the quality of the sound, that's all second. That doesn't really matter. But the people out there, it really matters. if your hair looks good and you've got that nice suit on and you've got in the way that you hold yourself. I mean, that's why presidents get elected. It's not because of their message. It's because they sound powerful. This is why Trump's going to get elected, because he sounds like he knows what he's talking about.
I think, and I've heard people say that the lady is going to get elected because she has people in her back pocket and whatnot.
And the Silver Surfer the Silver movie is exactly what you're saying. They spent too much time on the message and not the actual quality of the film.
I agree.
This is Free Talk Live. Your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live. Adam Kokesh has agreed to meet Bernie Sanders in any city in America on any day between now and the end of the year for a friendly debate on socialism versus voluntarism, in which Bernie can choose an objective moderator. To sweeten the deal, Roger Ver, a.k.a. Bitcoin Jesus, has offered that upon completion of a 3-hour debate in which both men have equal time, he will donate a total of $100,000 worth of Bitcoin to the charity of each man's choice, $50,000 apiece. Learn more at bernie.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
Today, I became a biophoton woman. I put a tablespoon of the Andreas 5-seed oil in my morning's One World Way drink and was still happy and energized at 3 p.m. Normally, I feel tired and spacey at the end of the day, but today I felt energy and very clear. My friend at the farmer's market asked what I was on. She said my eyes looked bright and I had unusual energy for that time of afternoon. I told her there was a magical oil that enabled my body to absorb the sun's energy as if I were a plant. She said, I want some. A second One World Way shake with the oil when I got home took me to bedtime with that wonderful, abundant energy. I couldn't believe how much I got done and how great I felt. The combination of One World Way and 5-seed oil produced a significant health event in my life, the kind that makes you feel you've been given your life back with a bonus, and I'm 64.
5-seed oil in One World Way. For your fantastic health, call 888-988-3325 or visit sacredseedoils.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Thursday, gold is $6 lower at $1,342 per ounce. Silver is 3 cents lower at $20.38 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $655 US. Robertson Roberts has been helping customers to buy and sell gold and silver for nearly 40 years. For more information, give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855 450 free. That's 855 450 3733. In studio tonight is Darryl,
Chris,
and Conan.
And the loud orange one that's running for president had an Ask Me Anything on Reddit. And apparently that meant for some busy moderators. Chris, tell us what happened.
You bet. This is coming to you from the nextweb.com. The headline is Reddit moderators banned 2,200 accounts during Donald Trump's AMA yesterday. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump took to Reddit yesterday to participate in an AMA, or Ask Me Anything, in the pro-Trump subreddit, r/TheDonald.
R being the Reddit thing, so it's reddit.com/r/whatever the name of the subreddit. Free
That's
Talk
correct.
Live has a subreddit.
You bet.
That is reddit.com/r/Free Talk Live.
Continuing on, the AMA, for the most part, royally sucked. Trump answered a total of 12 rather weak questions and stuck to broad generalities rather than diving into specifics. Curious, though, and far more interesting than the AMA itself, was the post-AMA thread where /r/TheDonald subscribers accused Reddit administrators of censoring the Trump session by artificially inflating or upvoting or deflating, downvoting, the vote counts, as well as shielding it from the front page, a move that would have brought the mostly liberal Reddit en masse to take over the QA session. In addition, we found out that the mods banned more than 2,200 accounts during the event, a move that moderators bragged about afterwards. Mods banned any account created within the last month and any that asked questions they felt were hostile, although there were no clear-cut guidelines of what constituted a hostile question.
So let me read the initial post at the beginning of the Ask Me Anything. It's titled, I'm Donald J. Trump, and I'm your next president of the United States. Hello, the Donald readers and the entire Reddit community. This is going to be so huge.
Huge.
And I'm looking forward to answering your questions. I'm doing this in flight to visit the great people of Toledo, Ohio, so internet connection might be spotty. I promise you I'll answer the questions I can. I want to do big things for America. And as your president, I will make America great again. Be back in 30-7 p.m. Eastern Time. Update proof, and then he links to some post on Facebook and says, looking forward to answering your questions. We are still in the air on our way to Ohio. Such a great time answering your questions. Thank you. And then another post to another thing on Facebook.
Nice. In addition, we found out that, let's see, I already covered that. One Redditor asked why Trump refused to share his tax returns before promptly being banned. And it shows a graphic here. It says, you've been banned from participating in /r/TheDonald. You have been banned from participating. You can still view and subscribe to The Donald, but you won't be able to post or comment. If you have a question regarding your ban, you can contact the moderator team for /r/TheDonald by replying to this message. Reminder from the Reddit staff, if you use another account to circumvent this Reddit ban, this will be considered a violation of the content policy and can result in your account being suspended from the site as a whole. And shows a picture of a tweet from a gentleman named Patrick. Quote, I asked the real Donald Trump on his AMA why he won't share his tax returns. I got immediately banned.
So guess what? So Reddit is owned by Condé Nast. I think that's how it's pronounced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a magazine company. They're probably best known for the travel magazine that they put out under the same name.
They've got a lot of stuff.
They do, but I'm just saying that the company is probably best known for the travel magazine. There's a lot of things that they put out under names other than Condé Nast.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, they've got a lot of magazines going on, and they've started in 2011. They started the Condé Nast Entertainment television program. But anyways, they are based at One World Trade Center. I guess one of them actually made it through the devastation.
That's the address for the Trade Center complex where they have rebuilt buildings.
Right, and in New York City. So I mean, and this is Donald's walkabout. This is his land.
Well,
so I mean, maybe.
So are you alleging that Donald Trump owns Condé Nast?
No, I'm saying he might be buddies with him.
No, what I think I'm going to take a step back and say, aren't subreddits moderated by volunteers of that subreddit or the people that created it?
Yes.
Right. So actually what you have here, it seems to me, is a bunch of pro-Trump supporters running a pro-Trump subreddit on Reddit and being rather heavy-handed if they choose not to like a particular question.
And people are somehow blaming the liberal media for this.
I'll finish the article because it is very short. In fairness, the chance that Trump...
The reason I said that is because I clicked over to one of the posts that Donald linked to in his Reddit thread.
Right.
And one of the commenters said something about, damn liberal media, blah, blah, blah.
That I'm sure that made it.
Yeah.
In fairness, the chance that Trump answered a legitimate question probably wasn't all that good to begin with. One of the 12 Trump managed to respond to was, "Are you getting tired of winning?" Trump's response, "I'm never tired of winning, and as your president, I'll win for you, the American people. I'm with you." He might as well have just responded to every question about Rampart.
I'm going to win you the American dream, citizen.
Yeah, so it kind of is what it is, but... you know, and
that response sort of reminds me of, I'm sure you've seen the Exhibit meme. You probably don't know who Exhibit is. He's the guy that...
Sorry, but I did watch, what was the name
Pimp
of that show?
My Ride.
Pimp My Ride.
Where he'd be like, oh, I know you like this, so I'm going to put some of this in your then. I know you like winning, so I'm going to put some winning in your winning, and then it's just going to be winning all the time.
When you open up your hood, you're going to get a 60-inch flat screen of winning. Yeah, I hear you.
There's going to be so much America in America. It's going to be America all up in America.
Yeah, so and this kind of brings up a couple things. I mean, there's always, anytime anybody gets smacked for disagreeing or something like that, so many people I know and so much on social media I say is, you're censoring me. You know, this is censorship. You can't do that. First Amendment. Well, Reddit's a privately owned company.
Yes.
Number one. Number two.
So is Twitter, by the way.
And every page is moderated by private individuals.
And that's how Reddit works. And Reddit is huge, and they do it all mostly with volunteers that moderate different things. And you know, your First Amendment rights should be protected from the government. That's the point. Right. But it doesn't imply that everyone on Earth cannot censor you should they decide to.
I am under no obligation to provide anyone with a platform from which to speak.
True. Absolutely not. Including this one.
But there are some people that think that First Amendment means that somebody must provide them a platform. I remember there was somebody that got fired from NPR a couple years ago. And there were people saying, oh, he got censored. And I said, well, NPR's never hired me. Have I been censored?
Right.
And they're like, but that's different. How?
Yeah, but
you're saying that NPR should be forced to give people a platform.
Wait.
They said that they no longer wanted to give this guy a platform. They've never given me a platform, so have my rights been
How much
abridged?
money does NPR get from the government is what I want to know, because if that's the case, and they do get money from the government, I don't know how much it is of their budget. Right. But I mean, then it starts to get into gray land where you've got to provide a semblance of free speech for anybody and everybody.
But you're implying that this is all fair. So another example is presidential debates, or it's not presidential debates, but I'm going to say like equal airtime.
The fairness doctrine got repealed back in the 80s.
Right. But during that whole time up to that point, TV networks were required to put on, an equal amount of airtime from particular candidates.
If they did something that was somehow construed as not legitimate news.
Right.
Okay, Skynet tells me that NPR got $445 million in 2012.
What percentage of their budget?
Hold on, 0.014%. Oh, I'm sorry. That is 0.014% of the federal budget. So I need to figure out what their entire budget was.
How about all those
$445 million? It's a lot of monies.
Yeah, but probably nothing
for a media station, for a program.
Nothing compared to little old ladies sending in their $5 every month to make sure they can get Downington Abbey or whatever.
This is Free Talk Live. What do you know about NPR? Are they censoring people by not hiring them? 855-450.
Give Darryl a job.
For Bitcoin to be ubiquitous, people need to use it. For people to use it, they must have it. How can we get Bitcoin into more hands? Well, tipping might be a great way. What if you could include a bonus Bitcoin tip along with your regular tip to a server? What if that Bitcoin returned to you if unclaimed after 30 days? An attractive business card-sized Bitcoin tip that is easily claimed, gives instructions on wallets, spending, and returns to the user if unused? Tip.freetalklive.com. Tip.freetalklive.com.
Are you searching for your soulmate? Someone you can trust, who will never betray you? Or cooperate with the NSA? Stop searching. With EasyDNS, you found a keeper. EasyDNS does it all. Domain names, web hosting, and managed WordPress hosting. EasyDNS stands up for your internet freedom. And with servers in Canada, they do not cooperate with the NSA. Go to EasyDNS.com. You'll love their services or get a full refund. They guarantee it. And they accept Bitcoin. That's EasyDNS.com.
Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, July 28th, 2016. Silver is trading at $20.44 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,345 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $659. Antiwar.com reports with officials continuing to assure the world that coup plotters had infiltrated anything and everything in Turkey. The post-coup purge seems able to target any given industry at any moment. One day the government is rounding up disloyal generals, and the next it's firing the dean of every university in the country. On Wednesday, it was the media's turn. Officials are reporting that over 100 media outlets have been closed over ties to exiled cleric Fethullah Gulen, including 45 daily newspapers and 16 television stations. Incredibly, among the newspapers ordered closed was Zaman, which was nationalized for Gulen ties way back in March. Turkish officials seem insistent that the old Zaman's influence extended to a coup that happened 4 months after they were closed, with arrest warrants issued for 47 former employees. That they closed the new Zaman, which they already run and which had been slavishly loyal to Erdogan, is just bizarre and reflects growing paranoia about any perceived dissent. The Erdogan government has long been ruthless in cracking down on critical media, at any rate arresting reporters as terrorists for unflattering stories, particularly those critical of the government offensives against the ethnic Kurdish minority. That crackdown never really stopped, but the coup has justified an even further acceleration. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports prosecutors in Baltimore on Wednesday dropped all charges related to the arrest and death of Freddie Gray for 3 police officers. The move by Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby will conclude the high-profile case, meaning there will be no convictions or criminal accountability related to Gray's death. Charges, including involuntary manslaughter, were dropped against Officer Garrett Miller, Sergeant Alicia White, and Officer William Porter. Gray sustained a fatal spinal injury on April 12, 2015, while being driven in a police van after he was arrested. His death sparked weeks of protest, riots, and looting in Baltimore and ignited the Black Lives Matter movement nationwide. Prosecutors previously said officers did not do enough to get Gray medical attention after he was injured while handcuffed but not buckled into a seat in the back of the van. Porter's trial ended in a mistrial in December. Officer Edward Nero and Caesar Goodson Jr. were acquitted in separate trials in May and June. Baltimore police officer Lieutenant Brian Rice, the highest-ranking officer to respond to the incident that led to Gray's death, was found not guilty of involuntary manslaughter, misconduct in office, and reckless endangerment on July 18th. Mosby told the Baltimore Sun on Wednesday, "I wanted to be able to expose the systemic issues, and I think that's one of the reasons why we said we would probably drop the remaining cases, so we can try to work towards a solution," adding, "At the end of the day, this was just a process. The officers received due process, the verdict was rendered, and at the end of the day, I believe justice was served." When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports a Wisconsin appeals court ruled on Wednesday that 2 teenagers should be tried as adults on charges that they attempted to kill a classmate by stabbing her repeatedly to please a fictional internet character named Slenderman. The girls, Anissa Wire and Morgan Geyser, have been in custody since they were charged with attempted first-degree homicide in the May 2014 attack in Waukesha, Wisconsin, a suburb of Milwaukee. All 3 girls were 12 years old at the time of the stabbing. In a pair of rulings, the 2nd District Court of Appeals determined that the Waukesha County Circuit Court probably exercised its discretion given the facts presented and made a decision a reasonable judge could make. The girls can appeal to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
A heroic broken sewage pipe floods Congress with waste. Johnson & Johnson introduces new leave-in Q-tips. This Thursday, local youth Andrew Robillard told reporters he had no idea why he couldn't wear his Iron Man costume to his grandfather's funeral. Robillard, whose grandfather passed away this week after complications from a stroke, vented his frustration to reporters and noted that his grandpa, quote, probably wouldn't even care if he dressed like Iron Man at the funeral.
Iron Man is awesome. I want to wear my Iron Man suit. I am Iron Man.
And in tech news, a news website refers to its users' ceaseless exchange of racial slurs as a discussion. In other news, Guinness World Records promotes the man who can lift 27 pounds with his tongue to editor-in-chief. Thursday's cry is moved up to Wednesday due to a scheduling conflict, and a family watches in silence as Dad checks out the waitress.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Kicking off our number 3 in studio tonight is Darryl,
Chris, and Conan.
And we began the conversation about the Donald's Ask Me Anything that led to a broader discussion about free speech that then sort of narrowed in on NPR, National Public Radio. And Conan, you had asked the question about how much money do they get from the feds? And you found a number that what was the claim that they get $445 million a year?
It was a combination of NPR's funding and CBS. That's what you get.
You mean the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, CPB?
No, I'm sorry. PBS and NPR got $445 million in 2012. I'm trying to figure out how much NPR got.
Right. So I'm on NPR's website right now where they have their public radio finances, and I'm looking over the Form 990, and they received a total revenue of $204 million in 2013. And the vast majority of that, they list on their site, they have a pie chart breakdown. Station dues and fees make up 39% of their revenue. Corporate sponsorships, 23%. Grants and contributions, 15%. And in amongst that includes grants from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which is the entity that funnels the money to PBS and NPR. So the money does not go directly from the federal government to either NPR or PBS.
There's a middleman.
It gets funneled through the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Bureaucracy.
Right.
So that is counted in the grants and contributions, but also if there's a grant from the Kellogg Foundation, that gets included in that grant percentage as well.
I think the key here is being able to put out a chart, a graph that shows that individuals contribute the most. And arguably they do, but half of it's through the government.
Well, 40% is donation, or not donation, but cable
station dues.
Station fees.
So the member stations where I don't know if you've listened to NHPR, but it'll say, at the top or the bottom of the hour, this station is a member station of NHPR and NPR and blah, 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 supported by listeners like you. And they do have the member station finances. And in some cases, some of the member stations do get direct tax dollars, which make up 5% of all of the revenue of all of the member stations.
Okay, and then the other thing is you have to consider the donations, because a lot of those are tax deductible. So when you think about it, those individuals are collecting that money back, and so it didn't really go. It did come from the taxpayers. So it's fishy. But I mean, but here's the question.
Hold on. So you're saying it's fishy if I were to send $5 to NHPR, that would be fishy?
No. If they say they're only making 3% of their income from the feds, that number's incorrect, because you have to take into account member stations, and you have to take into account the tax deductible donations.
Right. What government has said is that we favor people giving to charity over people that don't give to charity, and we're going to take some of your tax dollars and credit it to people who do what we want.
That's tax dollars that could have gone to something else, the general fund maybe, but they got their money back by giving it to NPR. Why doesn't that make sense?
This is using weird, goofy mental gymnastics to say that somebody giving money to NPR is indirect tax dollars because it's money that the feds would not have stolen from them.
No, what it is it's the feds encouraging something that the feds find a positive thing. It's no different than giving credits for your mortgage interest and things like that.
Right, but nobody would use the same example that Conan just gave to say that the feds are funding churches because donations to churches are tax deductible.
No, but what the feds are doing, and maybe Conan didn't put it exactly the way you or I would have, but I think the gist of it was, to me, it's why does government get to choose what enticements it has for people to do what they want with their money? And that's what tax deductions are to me. They are the feds trying to push a specific version of morality onto the citizens. We will reward you for this or that.
Right.
Or reward you for your electric car.
That seems to be a completely different discussion than how much money does NPR get directly from taxpayers by saying, well, this person would have had this money stolen had they not donated it to NPR, so therefore that's a tax dollar.
One could make the argument that by giving a tax break to somebody who does what the government wants them to do means that they're going to take more tax dollars from people that don't do what they want to do. That to me is fairly straight. And that
so
I think
let
was
me ask
the gist of what Conan was saying.
Would you say that people that donate money to churches that's then tax dollars funding churches because those dollars aren't being stolen by the feds?
If it's money that they can get back because they can deduct it from their taxes at the end of the year. So they kind of get that money back, or that's money they don't have to pay.
That's money that's not being stolen. Okay. So that's not tax dollars going to a church. That's that's money that's not being stolen.
But that's money that would otherwise go to another. That would go to taxes. It would go to the general fund, or it would go to do anything else the government is doing with it. It would go somewhere else.
You're making weird mental leaps. Let's go to the phone. Let's go to the phones, and we can try and figure this out afterwards. We've got Joe calling in from California. Joe, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Well, I had to take me 2 aspirin for that one about churches using tax money, the stolen tax money. That's a good one. Well, what I called about was the people that are not just the ones that were acquitted, but when you're tried sometimes for a stupid thing and you are found not guilty or are acquitted, is there any recourse to get a defense fund paid for? Because that had to cost a lot of money to defend yourself on something that you're really not guilty of.
In most cases, no.
There are some people that will, especially if it's a somewhat high-profile case, they'll do fundraisers to help raise money for their defense. But in a lot of cases, unless it can be proven that the government agents willfully violated someone's rights, then no, there pretty much is no recourse. And then even
tell me how often that happens.
Even if, and we know of some people that have gotten settlements. Carla Garrick, former president of the Free State Project, was wrongly arrested for filming a police encounter. The police officer that violated Carla's rights did not have to write the check for $50,000 or whatever it was. It was the town of Ware that wrote the check. So it was the taxpayers that wound up having to pay because the police officer screwed up, and the police officer got a slap on the wrist and a paid vacation.
So you couldn't go back after the town could not go back after the police officer.
Well, no, because there's all kinds of immunities.
Right.
Unions.
Yep, there's unions, there's immunities, there's all kinds of things. And it was a story that I brought in, but we didn't really talk about, but that was the case of a woman getting reimbursed not reimbursed. She got a settlement from the U.S. government, which means we all paid into it, $475,000 for an illegal search of her vagina. So you contributed to that one because it was bad cops acting poorly, bad, just it was bad all the way around.
Joe, thank you for the call. And speaking of people that need help with legal defense, go to freeross.com. Help donate to the Free Ross Legal Defense Fund. Ross is an absolute hero who is serving 2 life sentences in prison. This is Free Talk Live.
Retrievers, Labradors, Goldens are the main breeds that come through our door, but we'll train anything with 4 legs and a tail. My husband and I own a kennel. We train hunting dogs and also have a boarding and grooming business. Our dogs, they're athletes, and we feed a very quality food. You can't get enzymes in a commercial dog food because they cook it at such a high heat that so much important nutrition is just cooked right out of it. But adding Dynovite to their diet has every single dog in my kennel looking better than they have ever looked.
DINOVITE.com. 859-428-1000.
Dynovite helps them obtain that better nutrition that is hard to find in commercial foods.
The omega-3 fatty acids, zinc. There's flaxseed oil, the seaweed, the kelp. They don't shed as much, and they're all over very healthy dogs.
We tell everybody we know about Dynovite. DINOVITE.
Dynovite's the bomb.
859-428-1000.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Joel Wallach, veterinarian and naturopathic physician. The Dead Doctors Don't Lie guy with an important message. Take charge of your health. Do not continue to blindly follow the system that has failed us all. I appreciate GCN listeners because you're open-minded and intelligent. If our system is so great, why is it that the United States, the USA, ranks nearly 60th worldwide in longevity and number 1 in obesity? All the while we spend more money than all the other countries combined annually on unnecessary health care procedures and toxic drugs. It doesn't take much to get on track. Not with the government or pharmaceutical companies, but rather you in control of your own health with a basic understanding of nutrition and supplementation. FDI Longevity has the finest quality health, sports, and energy supplements available. GCN listeners are invited to join our team of people who want to stay healthy well into old age. We are currently looking for specialists to represent FDI Longevity and Save America. To buy products at wholesale prices or join our business team, go to GCNteam.com. That's GCNteam.com. Support GCN. Get healthy.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We'll continue the discussion about taxes and NPR and free speech and tax deductions. But there's something that I want you to do tonight when you go to bed. Concentrate on the position of your head and neck. In a lot of cases, chronic headaches, neck aches, or even back pain can be solved with the right pillow. Your spine should be straight and parallel to the floor, and My Pillow is designed to fit to the shape of your body and hold your neck in the proper position. I've been using this thing for a couple of months. Chris has been using it for about a year, and I can say without equivocation, it's the best pillow I have ever used. This thing is amazing. You can throw it in the washing machine, you can throw it in the dryer, and it's still able to be used. Don't try that at home with a regular pillow. In fact, when was the last time you even thought about doing that with a regular pillow? Don't worry, I have a solution. Go to mypillow.com and buy a pillow. Don't worry about whether you like it or not, because there's a 60-day money-back guarantee. So if you don't like it, you've got 60 days to get your money back. And the pillow itself is guaranteed for 10 years. Use my code FTL to get a second pillow absolutely free. MyPillow.com, code FTL. 60-day money-back guarantee, 10-year guarantee. MyPillow.com, code FTL. Let's go back to the phones. We've got Rob calling in from South Carolina. Rob, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
All right, so you're talking about funding to NPR, and two of y'all were saying how when you have like tax deductions because of donations, that influences how much of that cost comes from government. I understand where they're coming from, but as for just straight up donations, I don't think people make donations because they're going to get a tax deduction. They donate it and then they take the tax deduction because they can.
Sure. I'd agree with that.
I would agree that most people do not, but I could see people who are in a certain tax range who want to maybe lower their
They want to lower the amount of money that's stolen from them by the federal government?
So they want to get into the next bracket down or something, or the next bracket up. They would actually donate a certain amount and lower their...
Certainly.
Lower
there are some people that will do that.
Sure.
Well, in the top tax bracket, you're 39.5%. You're giving $1,000 to save $600. So if there's a charity that you really like, they might find it's worth it to donate that money. But again, they're still losing money. They're spending $1,000 to save to save $400.
Right.
And the only go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
But you understand what I'm saying. So they take $600 off of their total. So they're actually going to pay less taxes.
So
they're paying less taxes than they would. So they say they're going to pay $30,000. They've lowered it. They've got it down to $28,000. So they actually saved themselves $2,000 that would have gone into the general fund.
Right. So Conan's argument here is that $2,000 of donations were actually tax dollars that should be counted as tax dollars, even though it did not come from any government.
I'm not saying it should have happened. I'm saying if you can get out of some taxes, do it.
But you're saying that in this chart that they have, where they say that 5% of the finances of member stations of NPR came from federal, state, and local governments, you're saying that number should be higher because people are avoiding having money stolen from them.
Because there is money that is not going into the general fund because they saved money.
I would just simply say this. Number one, when government promotes one behavior over another, that's not freedom and that's not liberty. If I say I want to encourage people to go to church or I want them to be charitable.
Or you want to encourage them to buy a house. That's why there's the mortgage deduction. But there's not a deduction on a car loan.
Exactly. I'm going to encourage certain types of things. Not only that, I'm going to encourage whole industries. I want this to be a green country. So if you install solar cells, I'm going to give you big bucks back. If you buy an electric car, I'm going to give you big bucks back. Do all these sorts of things. So I have a problem with it morally. My second question, if we're just talking about this little microcosm of NPR funding in the vast moray of the federal government, we can look at that circle. You can say that 34% comes from donations and X percent comes from government this way. All I'm saying is if less money came from donations, then those other pieces of the pie will go up because it's government and it doesn't get smaller. They're just going to find another way to pay for it. And if they have to come up with a new tax or shuffle money from this tax revenue stream into that and then come up with a new tax somewhere else, they're going to do it. It's not the idea that a budget would ever go down is simply alien. That the most they'll ever talk about is we maintained the level we did last year. It's insanity.
But this takes it back to let's take it back to why this even came up in the first place. If they're only getting 3% funding from the federal government or 25%, at what level are they unable to say fire someone like when they don't hire Darryl? Because Darryl wants to work at NPR. That's his lifelong dream. He wants to get a job there. They're never going to hire him because Darryl is Darryl.
Rob, continue with your thoughts.
Please save us.
All right. I get what y'all saying. Like you donate money, you get the tax deduction, but people don't donate to get the tax deduction. They take it, and they take it because it's there. The exception is you got, say, a really rich sports player or whatever, and they create their own charity, and then they donate millions of dollars to their own charity, and get the tax write-off, and then they can use their charity, to do whatnot. It's the only time.
And the other half they send down to Panama.
Yeah, but that's the only time you actually save money by donating.
Right.
So, but yes, I think it's fair to say that a proportion of that donation is somewhat subsidized by the government, but to draw a hard answer, if I were to give a hard yes or no, I would say no, it's not.
And
if I were to give an absolute answer.
There's every couple of years some politician that will say that he wants to end the federal funding to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and then another politician says he's trying to kill Big Bird. But when I look at this and I see how small of a percentage of the total amount of funding that comes from, either it be the Corporation for Public Broadcasting or some government giving, direct or indirect tax revenues, I'm thinking NPR and PBS would very easily be able to exist absent that small amount of money from the feds.
Just like our local library. Yes, it would.
Oh, they could. But I also suspect that hidden within that very bland pie chart, or I think it's a pie chart you're looking at, there's all sorts of NGOs, non-governmental organizations that are in there that are all sliding tax dollars around too. So, first of all, a lot of people love NPR, especially in New Hampshire. I've really noticed that they love to listen. They could support it themselves, and I'd be all for it. And heck, I might even throw a couple shekels their way too.
Rob, I'm not sure if you had more. If you do, please hold on. And your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states.
Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Are you about to meet the media? If you're about to be interviewed, do their homework for them. Know this about the person who will interview you. He or she is busy, so expect minimal, if any, preparation. He or she doesn't know as much about your topic as you do. He or she isn't as concerned as you are about getting your message out, so you need to take responsibility. Provide a biography and fact sheet, photographs, or other materials that tell your story. Reporters won't be put off if you supply frequently asked questions. Remember, Public Speaking 101, at the end of the speech, what's the one thing you want them to remember? You can download the document I supply to reporters who interview me and squirm through a video that demonstrates how not to conduct your media interview at www.survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live.
Good evening, Mark and Ian.
Hey, it's Scott the Bigot. What's on your mind tonight, Scott?
I know that America is in dire straits, and I know that the whole rotten Zionist-occupied government is going to collapse very soon.
When was the last time you went out and socialized with other human beings?
I get the pulse of the people, and I get the pulse of what's going on in this country.
How can you get the pulse of anything if you're cloistered within your apartment?
I know what's going on.
I mean, are you even getting out amongst other white separatists?
No. Wait, in a minute.
Is that your mom?
In a minute.
No, listen, it's 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I want it now.
So, gentlemen.
Who is that?
Yeah, you go laugh.
Wait, is that your mother?
Yeah, I take care of her.
How old are you, by the way?
49.
Is your mom as bigoted and nasty towards other human beings as you are?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. Listen to LRN.FM on any phone, anytime. 641-552-5046. That's 641-552-5046.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. I think I somehow am still not understanding what Conan was saying, and maybe I misunderstood your initial premise, because your initial premise you have since modified in some kind of way.
No, all I am saying is there is less money going into the general fund because you donated to a charity, and so you got a tax deduction, so now you pay less taxes.
Right.
Which is good for you. You still lost that money, still went to the charity, but now you're paying less money to the general fund.
I avoided having money stolen from me, and an entity that I appreciate wound up getting money.
Correct.
And did I hear you correct? Did you initially say that the monies that would have otherwise been taxes should be listed as tax dollars received by the entity? Because that's what I thought you said. And if that's not what you said, then I've been confused about what your entire point was.
This is why I hate taxes so much. Because it's so confusing.
Yes.
It is. Let's just not pay them. Let's just go underground. I'm going out to the woods tonight living off grid. This is just too much for me.
Well, if you go live off the grid, then you can't be on the show, because Free Talk Live is totally on the grid. Let's go back to Rob calling in from South Carolina. Rob, I'm not sure if you had a further point that you wanted to make about NPR and taxes and tax deductions.
I had two more things to close up.
Yep, go ahead.
One, I don't think people, if let's say there was no tax deduction for donating, I don't think that would stop people from donating.
I don't
either. And the reason for that is that you still are losing money. You are not gaining money by donating. And then the second thing is, there are things where you're talking about, government encouraging people to do something, is like, for example, like college. There's you can claim, I think it's like $2,500 a year if you're going to college, and if you have scholarships or whatnot, you can basically claim that and pocket that money. Which is obviously government incentivizing behavior. But with tax deductions, I firmly believe that deductions were created for select groups of people, and then the rest of us, we find out how to exploit them and use them for our own benefit.
Right, and a lot of those tax deductions were, as Chris pointed out, written to benefit certain industries, and those industries generally have lobbyists. Yeah, so they have people that are connected to the politicians, or the politicians themselves wind up being connected directly to that entity. Rob, thank you for the call. And yeah, you do have these things to where, like the mortgage deduction, or the mortgage interest deduction, rather, but you don't have a car loan interest deduction credit.
Well, I think the difference there is you find that Wall Street pretty much and the big banks handle mortgages, while the big banks probably don't find themselves so concerned with auto loans. That's where you have private lenders like GMAC or Honda Finance Corporation,
or
things
just
like
your
that.
local bank, your local credit union.
Right. But it's not that level of monstrosity that the big banks, the owners of the Federal Reserve, can manipulate.
Well, the small banks are part owners of the Federal Reserve as well. That's
very small shares.
Right, but owner nonetheless. If I go out and I buy a share of Coca-Cola, I technically become a part owner of the Coca-Cola Corporation.
Yes, you do.
Very, very small
And
part.
one thing that the caller had mentioned about, your average person isn't necessarily making the contribution because of the tax deduction, but they'll take the tax deduction. If I'm walking down the street and I see a dollar bill, I'll pick it up, but I don't walk around looking for crumpled up dollar bills.
I do
too. One other thought on this.
And pennies.
And this is just kind of my final thought on this. Not only do rewards for charitable contributions steer things in ways that the government feels are the right thing to do or moral in their eyes, or we steer towards industries to reach a goal or whatever, but the people that can least afford it are the ones that can't really take advantage of it. You know what I mean? So if you have somebody who's very, very, very poor, for them to really benefit from a charitable contribution, they can't do that. They can make their small contributions, which they do,
right,
but they're unlikely to see any substantial return. So again, it's not treating everyone fairly or equally.
Right. And based on statistics that I've seen, it's generally the people that are less well off that wind up on a per capita basis donating more money. Let's go back to the phones. We've got, I believe this is Rudy calling in from Arizona, listening to K-Talks. Rudy, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Hey, guys, it's been a wild day. That last hour when you had all the hits, you had Ricky and Sarah and Ralph.
Yep, back to back to back.
Back to back.
My vote for Sarah. She's a doll. I spent an hour on the computer looking up the laws of Pennsylvania, and I don't know if Ricky was telling us the truth. I can't find it. Anyway, by the way, you guys have the patience of Job when you're talking to that guy. I don't know how you do it. About PBS.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, I agree with Chris about, there's these people that with, mega bucks, and they're able to get their tax rate down by giving to some charity that they like. Well, I'm not sure that it benefits everybody by them giving money to a charity that they want to give to. It should be into the general fund and then divvy it up, like you say, the people that need it the most probably aren't going to get the benefits of it.
Yeah.
But back to PBS, I remember back in it was 76 with the church committee, and then in the House it was the Pike committee. It was about how we go around the world and assassinate leaders that we don't like. And I remember
they're still doing that,
screaming about that because PBS ran the hearings all the way through, and they screamed about it. And then when Reagan got in there and the Iran-Contra hearings, and they brought up, basically it was treason, about Iran-Contra.
Mm-hmm.
And they just ran those hearings from start to finish. And man, they just screamed about, we have to cut the money for this PBS. This is, they didn't like the idea that the facts were getting out there that, basically Ronald Reagan was kind of a crook, bypassing the Constitution. And then they started cutting the money to PBS. Back then, the PBS budget was like, the federal government paid about 10%, I think, of their whole budget. And now it's gotten down to what you said, 3%. But they also have half on their board of directors, half Republicans, half Democrats. So it's not one-sided anymore. It's actually kind of crap because that was the one place you could go and find actually neutral news, at least as far as I was concerned. I mean, if the Republicans did something wrong and they're reporting on it, the Republicans call that liberal.
Right.
I just call it factual. I call it factual. Give me the facts. Just because it's not pro-Republican doesn't mean that it's liberal. It could be, neutral.
Right.
In the middle of the road. All All right. Thanks. And
Rudy, thanks for the call.
I don't know that you're going to get every program you listen to is going to be biased. This program is biased.
Yes, we're biased towards liberty.
Correct. And the only way around it is you have to listen to them all, and that's the hardest thing you could do, especially if you start to develop your own personal internal bias, when when you're listening to some other host on the alternative network that you just loathe and you despise, and it becomes harder and harder to listen to the other side of the argument when you start to develop your bubble.
Now, one thing that I will say about public television is I do like the government transparency aspect, to where you can watch the city council hearings, you can watch the congressional hearings. Not so much watching what the state reps do, but hopefully that comes in the future. This is Free Talk Live, 855 450 free.
If you're considering going back to school, ask yourself the following questions. Do you need the flexibility to take classes on your schedule? Do you have college credits you need transferred? Do you want to earn a quality degree from a world-renowned university? If you answered yes to any of these questions, Arizona State University is the perfect school for you. Arizona State University offers over 100 highly ranked degree programs 100% online. You'll earn the same degree as you would on campus, from wherever you are, on your schedule. Plus, ASU Online accepts most transfer credits. For information, call 1-800-958-5345. Learn for yourself why the Wall Street Journal ranks ASU 5th in the nation for producing the best qualified graduates, and why 90% of ASU grads are recruited within 90 days of graduation. Learn to grow, learn to succeed, and learn to thrive at Arizona State University. To learn more about ASU online degrees, call 1-800-958-5345. That's 1-800-958-5345.
Today, I became a biophoton woman. I put a tablespoon of the Andreas 5-seed oil in my morning's One World Way drink and was still happy and energized at 3 p.m. Normally, I feel tired and spacey at the end of the day, but today I felt energy and very clear. My friend at the farmer's market asked what I was on. She said my eyes looked bright and I had unusual energy for that time of afternoon. I told her there was a magical oil that enabled my body to absorb the sun's energy as if I were a plant. She said, I want some. A second One World Way shake with the oil when I got home took me to bedtime with that wonderful, abundant energy. I couldn't believe how much I got done and how great I felt. The combination of One World Way and 5-seed oil produced a significant health event in my life, the kind that makes you feel you've been given your life back with a bonus, and I'm 64.
5-seed oil in One World Way for your fantastic health. Call 888-988-3325 or visit sacredseedoils.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
You may already know about the Free Talk Live audio-on-demand phone line at 641-793-9660. Did you know that not only can you listen to Free Talk Live via your phone, you can also leave a message and have it delivered to Free Talk Live's hosts? To leave us your thoughts, just dial 641-793-9660. That's 641-793-9660. Press 2 for Free Talk Live, and then hit 0 to leave your message.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855 450 free. Possibly time for you and your thoughts if you call in right now. 855-450-3733. In studio tonight is Darryl,
Chris,
and Conan.
And there's a story out of Rio. Yes, Rio de Janeiro down in Brazil. The Olympic Games are beginning there in about a week, I believe. And, well, there's already people that are not necessarily comfortable about going to Rio for the Olympic Games. And some people that are already down there are less comfortable about being there. What am I talking about? Well, there was a New Zealand athlete who has lived in Brazil for close to a year. His name is Jason Lee. He's a jiu-jitsu champion. Says he was kidnapped by the Rio police on Sunday and forced to pay what he calls an unwarranted and sketchy fine. Lee, who is not part of the New Zealand Olympic delegation, partly because jiu-jitsu is not an Olympic sport and partly because he no longer lives in New Zealand, was pulled over by two armed police officers on motorcycles and told that they would be conducting a routine search for drugs and weapons. Despite the search, including one of the officers grabbing his genital area, which was quite a surprise, he says nothing initially seemed too out of the ordinary.
Wait, he's a jiu-jitsu fighter, so isn't a crotch move, isn't that one of their moves, to disable your opponent in the fastest,
I don't know what
way?
Kind of jiu-jitsu you're watching.
I'm just talking about all martial arts.
I think that's just any fight, period.
Yeah, you go for the genitalia and you put that man down. You don't play around unless it's one of your...
He was not in a jiu-jitsu fight. He was being pulled over by police,
and he got his,
and they patted him down and they grabbed his genitals. Are you saying that he should have expected that because he's a jiu-jitsu fighter?
He should have been ready to block that.
That's where I was going with it. He should have expected it.
Lee was told that he was driving illegally because foreigners have to have a passport to be able to drive in Brazil. He says the rental car company never mentioned that. The officers then demanded 2,000 Brazilian real, the U.S. equivalent of roughly $600, or they would arrest him and turn him over to federal authorities. Lee, and this is where it differs from an arrest or an encounter in the U.S. In the U.S., they write you a piece of paper that says you owe us 2,000 real or $600.
Wait. What if you're an illegal immigrant? How do they handle it? So you're a Mexican migrant guy, and you get pulled over for your drinking.
They give you a ticket unless it's an arrestable offense.
Do they? What if they think you'll flee? What if they suspect that you'll flee?
It would depend on where you're at in the country, too.
Depends on where you are. If they think that you're a flight risk and you might have warrants.
You don't have an ID. They don't know who you are. And
they might arrest you.
All right, well, maybe these guys were under the same assumption that he's like, this guy's a flight risk.
This guy provided ID. He just did not have a passport on him.
Okay, maybe the passport.
They said, and hold on, let me repeat. They said that if he did not pay the fine on the spot, he would be arrested.
Ooh.
That's different from the U.S. In the U.S., they say,
like corrupt
you
cops
owe
to
us
me.
money, go to court, or you'll be arrested.
Oh, I beg to differ. Let me tell you one late night in South Carolina many, many years ago where I was driving, and this was in the 80s, folks, and there might have been a few hundred empty beer cans in the back of the car. We might have been headed towards a beach, and a cop pulled us over. stereotypical Southern cop. I hate to use stereotypes.
Were you in Myrtle Beach?
I was on my way to Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
Where are you boys heading so fast like this?
That was pretty much the accent. He was wearing his dark sunglasses in 2 o'clock in the morning.
Authority.
And he gave me a choice. He said, you can either pay the $200, I think it was $100, $100 fine right now, or, we can put you in jail and you can wait till the judge gets in on Monday. So my buddy and I are like scrambling, like we've got like $38.
You can
Close enough, boys.
You can have the rest of our beer.
That was it. That was it. So don't say that stuff doesn't go on, because
I
it
didn't say
absolutely
it
does.
doesn't. I said,
the way it's supposed to
the
work.
way
You're
it
right.
generally happens.
Yeah.
And there are places, where it's speed traps, or they'll say, oh, this is a drug corridor, to where they basically, coerce someone into signing over ownership of the car. Otherwise, we'll seize it under asset forfeiture, and, well, you boys ain't from around here, and y'all ain't going to survive too kindly. So Lee says that he did not have the 2,000 rial on him, so he was forced to then drive the wrong way down the highway before being transferred into an unmarked car and taken to an ATM. Lee tells Sporting News it was clear to him that he knew the officers were acting nefariously, as they made efforts to not be seen and warned him not to report the incident. He adds that he's been living in Rio for about a year with his partner, Laura McQuillan, who's a journalist who does contract work for Stuff magazine, the publication for which he gave his account. The incident shook him. He says, I don't think I've ever felt I could possibly die. In a Facebook post that has since been deleted, he says, I'm not sure what's more depressing, the fact that this stuff is happening to foreigners so close to the Olympic Games, or the fact that Brazilians have to live in a society that enables this absolute BS on a daily basis.
He better watch it, or he's going to wake up one morning with some Zika virus.
You think everybody's going to get Zika, while also saying that Zika's not a problem?
No, actually, I don't think everyone is going to get Zika. The problem is not Zika. The problem is the money. The problem is the vaccines they're trying to create that is not necessary. The problem is linking Zika to microcephaly. That's the problem.
And what is microcephaly?
That is the small-headed baby syndrome.
Microencephalitis.
Is it cephaly or encephaly? I got to actually.
There's probably an N in there somewhere.
Yeah, throw an itis in. It always sounds good.
So, what are your thoughts on this? Is it just?
It's microcephaly.
Is it just considered newsworthy because it's a little more blatant, the corruption, whereas in the U.S., it's written down in all of these dockets and statutes and journals to where the theft is a little more hidden under the guise of law and order.
I would say the corruption is the same, but just what you said, it is hidden here, whereas it is out in the open and everyone knows what it is, and there's no pretending.
Yeah, we can all believe that it doesn't exist. We can just pretend that this is just, and hey, it's the American way. We're the best system in the world.
Well, Brazil's in the Americas.
Wrong America.
There's what? There's
one America. There's the United States of America.
The continent
of America. You got them others that
Brazil's also the United States. The United States of Brazil. And they're in the Americas.
Yeah, keep that up. I'm sure you'll switch over a lot of people who believe in American exceptionalism. They'll fall right in line with your line of thought there.
Yeah, and that reminds me of a YouTube video that I was watching about why is Canada not part of the United States. And apparently at one time, a bunch of people in the United States of America believed that American exceptionalism, try saying that 3 times fast, meant that the United States could and should invade Canada and defeat them and make them part of America.
Wait.
Why not?
Where did you hear this?
There was a YouTube video, and they actually pointed to...
So a man on the street walking around asking people?
No, so there was a guy, he was presenting, historical whatnots, and actually, one thing that we're not told here in the good old United States is that during the War of 1812, the United States military tried invading Canada.
Yeah, I remember something about that. Not because I was alive then, but I remember reading something about that.
Yeah, that's very well-known history in Canada, not so much in the United States.
I'm going to say I never heard that.
Yeah, the United States military
and what was
tried invading Canada.
What was their justification? More land?
American
Canada
exceptionalism.
Well,
America should go from sea to shining sea, and that means all the way up north.
And that very same act was then dramatized in the documentary Canadian Bacon, starring John Candy, if anyone's ever seen that.
I like bacon, but I've never seen a movie about bacon starring John Candy.
Oh, Canadian Bacon. It's great. It's an invasion of Canada. It's a great film.
Can't say I've ever seen it. I have heard of it, but I'll tell you what I did see recently. The Princess Bride.
What?
Yeah,
31 years after it came out, I finally watched it, and I have to say, I like it.
Inconceivable.
I like it. You say that word, I don't think it means what you think it means, but I do know that we're out of time for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow and always online at freetalklive.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty and peace around the globe worth 15 cents per day to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as sub-Saharan Africa. Last year, we did a fundraiser that successfully covered the costs of continuing our African channel. This year,